All right, so we're on the borrow tab right now, and this is where it will show you your collateral value, which would meaning what you've put into collateral at the bottom for B ETH or B Luna. So in tonight's example, we will drop a B Luna in, and I'll explain how this works. The net APR is positive zero point 0.4. So essentially, they're paying you right now to borrow. What do I mean by they're paying you? Well, the borrow APR is 13.5%. The distribution APR is 13.91. This minus that is 0.4. They're paying you in those ANK tokens that we were talking about on the other tab. And when you get paid in those ANK tokens, that's where I was explaining to you guys, based off of your, we'll say, strategy, you could stake it for a bit, wait till Luna maybe drops, wait till ANK goes up, and then figure out what you want to do with that, like convert it to, more Luna, essentially. So we're going to go buy a Luna right now, and I'm going to show you guys the way that I usually buy it. Essentially, I think Cephii does this too. I'm going to go to Astroport here. Let me connect my wallet. Give me a second. And I'm going to show you guys what we talk about with the ARBs live here. So you guys can see once this page loads, it's probably a little hard with the quality, but I'll read it out for you. The price of 1 UST to 1 Luna is 90.22 on this right now. Okay, so 1 Luna costs 90.22. But if I take this Luna, this little drop down here, and I go to B Luna, 1 B Luna is 85.83. So what is that on a percentage ARB right now? I don't even know. 90.22.
Might be like 7%. That's
5%.
crazy.
5% right now. It's a little high. Is that right, Cephii? 5% right now? Maybe. Okay. So
all you got to do to check it is on the top you pick Luna, and on the bottom you pick B Luna. Put in like 100, so you can like approximate, and it'll be like, so it's 101.8 B Luna for 100 Luna. So it's actually it's basically you'll get 1.8% extra B Luna if you buy bonded Luna there.
Yeah, that Luna actually updated while we were talking, so that 90 went down to 87.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to UST here. So you guys just saw that, right? So essentially, you're going to get more B Luna buying directly from UST. So why am I doing that? I'm doing that because, one, if I knew I was going to borrow against it anyway, I'm going to get more of my value right up front. And then two, the strategy that I always talk about where I'm just buying every day, I'm essentially taking that B Luna and then going through the burn process of 21 days. And then I'm getting 1 point whatever I'm getting out of B Luna to Luna. So let me just say that one more time. If I buy 1 Luna right now, okay, if I buy 1 Luna right now, it's $87.79. Okay. So essentially I'll get 1 Luna-ish. But if I buy 1 B Luna right now at $85.87, which is a $2 discount, whatever the percentage is on that, when I burn that back to Luna, I'm essentially getting that 2% ARB. Does that make sense to everyone? Throw up like a heart.
I'm thinking that probably for pure beginners, it probably does not make sense because they have no idea.
It makes no sense to me.
They have no idea why bonded Luna is they have no idea why it's discounted. Number one, and number two, like, this is not obvious. Like, and then the number two is that it's not obvious why, what burning of it is. So bonded Luna is essentially a staked Luna, or it's liquid staked, and it's built for being used on Anchor Protocol. And when you unstake Luna normally, like when you stake it on Terra Station, it takes 21 days to unstake, right? So when you go to Anchor and you go and burn bonded Luna, it takes 21 days to essentially unstake it. And it's called burning in this context for reasons that are unclear to me, but it's just what it's called. But that's a whole nother separate process. Probably what you should do, Lucky, is just like talk about maybe the B Luna and how you borrow using it. Why it's cheaper and all that is almost a separate discussion.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. Um, okay, just know this, guys, and we'll come back to it later. When you're buying B Luna and not Luna, you're getting a little bit of a discount of Luna, and we're going to use that B Luna to borrow against. Okay, we'll just leave it at that for right now. So I'm going to buy essentially one B Luna. And again, Big T, I should say, not financial advice, is entertainment purposes only, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and with that being said, guys, once again, up top, just click on the Twitch and watch it. We're walking you through the process right now, so I'm not going to keep going over this too in detail, but just click on the link above, and you can see his computer screen, and we're walking people on how to utilize Anchor Protocol. Sorry, Luck, go ahead.
So when we talk about, like, everyone should at least do this or execute it, here's the reason why. I'm buying one B Luna roughly for $87, $86. Okay, so I'm going to buy this right here in front of you guys. So I'm buying it. Let me confirm. So I just bought one B Luna. That one B Luna at $87. Now I can go take the current value of what I just bought. Now I can go take at Anchor. Okay, I'm going to go to Anchor. I'm going to switch screens here. So I'll give it a second to kind of pop up. And we're going to go to the borrow tab that we started at. We're going to go to the collateral list at the bottom. And on the collateral list, we're going to click the provide. Okay. That provide is going to show me the B Luna that I have in my wallet. Okay. So when you guys buy B Luna from either Astroport or TerraSwap or whatever other DEX is out there that you can buy it from, and you connect your wallet, it'll show you what B Luna you have. And when we talk about using as collateral, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to put one in here. Okay, so I'm going to put one B Luna in here. So we all bought one B Luna. And now look what just said. My new borrow limit's $70. So I'll talk about what that means on the new borrow limit. So I'm going to proceed, deposit one B Luna. I'm going to approve this. And once this is approved, my collateral value is going to populate.
So real quick.
Yep.
These systems talk to each other, in other words.
These systems talk to each other. The Terra Station wallet is connected to all the different protocols that you go across the Luna ecosphere. So gotcha. I'm connecting my wallet
to are the quote unquote websites, correct?
That's the quote unquote websites: Stater Labs, Astroport, Anchor Protocol, Nexus, Mir, Apollo, you name it. Those are all things that you can connect your Terra Station wallet to.
This is all starting to make a lot of sense now.
Okay.
And good. guys, real quick, we're going to hold all requests off for at least a few more minutes, and then we'll bring up some people for questions.
Okay. So now that I have my one B Luna as collateral, okay? Now that I have my one B Luna as collateral, it says that my collateral value is essentially the value of what that B Luna is worth right now. And my borrowed value is 0 because I haven't borrowed anything yet against it. Okay. So now once I have my collateral in here, be it 1 B Luna or 100 B Luna, you can borrow up to a certain amount. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys that. So this is where you go borrow. And you can drag this slider all the way to 94.99, which I would not want you to be doing. Let's be clear. A lot of people, I would say, the majority of people, like to stick around. Steffi, what do you think? That 40% is what I hear a lot of people do? Is that probably true?
It depends. It depends on how much you want to pay attention to this. Because obviously, so this is called the loan to value ratio. And if your price of Luna falls after you've borrowed off of it, then you can have it liquidated, which means you lose some of your Luna to reset the loan to value ratio. So you don't want to go too extreme with it because obviously Luna's price is volatile. So typically 75% is sort of considered the safe zone there. And you want to be below that at some point. Like if you have already dropped a lot in Luna's price, the odds of you getting that loan to value to go down further becomes less and less, right? And then the higher you go, the more likely that if you get to 75%, a drop can happen. And therefore, you could be sort of like under collateralized and you can get quote unquote liquidated. So yeah, 75% would be kind of a zone where, like, if I have not, like, I'm willing to pay attention to it, right, and watch Luna's price, that's probably okay. But in crypto, like, if you want to be really safe, you're probably closer to like maybe like 60% loan to value on that slider. Where, like, let's say, for example, you're getting on an airplane and you're like, I don't really want to like risk my Luna being liquidated, then you might like set it a little bit lower. But if you're watching it like a hawk and you want to be able to like max borrow off it, then you can set it a little bit higher. That's the idea.
Yeah. So let's talk through those numbers, guys. So right now, Luna's that B Luna is worth $87. Okay. If I borrow 40%, which I'm moving the slider to 40%, I can get $28 in UST right now. And then if Luna drops to $35.18, which is probably a little blurry on the screen because my quality is a little bad. If Luna drops to $35.18, I will get liquidated back to 75%, meaning I will lose some of my B Luna. So my loan to value goes back into an acceptable range. It might not actually be 75. It might be 80. I don't remember the exact number now because I've never actually been liquidated. Do you know what the exact number is it goes to? Is it 75?
Yeah, it drops you back to that safe zone, like okay, so 75. But typically what people say is when they get liquidated, they can lose up to like 20 to 25% of their Luna. So this is the reason why like being careful with this matters.
Yeah. So when we talk about this in our spaces, right? Again, not financial advice, but buying a Luna now at 87 and borrowing off it at 40% is giving you $28 in UST. So imagine if this one B Luna goes to $1,000 in the future and you borrow 40% off of it. That's $400 that you're going to be able to get in UST. $400 at the 40% range, which is, essentially we're saying really safe from a loan to value. Right?
And what he's saying is like if you end up buying Luna with that UST you just borrowed, right? Because you're assuming that the value of that's going to go up also.
Yeah, I'm actually saying like for people that aren't even using it today, if you buy an appreciative asset at 87, you don't do anything with it. When it goes to 1,000, you can borrow up to 40% off of it. But yeah, we can do the loop strategy too, Sefi.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, your ability to borrow increases as the price of Luna goes up. Yes.
So as the price from 87 goes, let's say to 1,000, and you never borrowed off of it, one day you can come in here and say, I want to borrow 40% off of it, and your 40% would be $400 in the future. But I will do a looping for you guys tonight to show you what that looks like. So I'll borrow up to, let's say 60%. So I'll do 60%. So I'm going to borrow 60% of the Luna I just bought, the 1B Luna. So I'm going to borrow $42.35. So I'm just going to proceed. You're going to see my UST value, okay? My UST value in my wallet go up by $42 and whatever that was, 35 cents, what I remember to borrow.
So, Lucky, are we at a good stopping place for a second to take a few questions?
Yeah, because we just borrowed UST, so we can take a couple of questions if you want.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to question. If anybody wants to come up and ask a question, please feel free to do so. I'll let the 4 guests up right now. Give me 1 second and I'll get you guys in order. Don't just start blabbering a whole bunch of shit.
And try to keep the questions like relevant to what's been shown so far, ideally.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to Dustin, then we're going to go to the Degenerate, then we're going to go to Drew, then we're going to go to Sugar. Go ahead, Dustin.
What's up, guys? Thanks for bringing me out. This is a cool space. This is awesome duo in between Twitch and Twitter. But anyways, I have a question. When you said that, like, if you were getting on like an airplane or something and you wanted to play it a little bit safer, like you didn't have the time to watch it, so you can adjust that loan percentage to better suit you. Like it's
So what I just borrowed $42.35. So you see how I just borrowed $42.35 and my loan to value is at 60%. Let's say you put this money into earn and you didn't loop it, because looping is a little bit different, because then you're kind of, you have to add that back to collateral. But let's just go with a simple example, Dustin. If I put that $42 I just borrowed and put it into Earn, and I was jumping on a plane and I was really nervous that, like, I don't know, Russia's going to do something crazy and the market's going to crash, I could go take out that money, the liquid staking that I put into Earn, and pay back some of my loan, maybe half of it, to bring this loan to value back to a safer point. So as you repay it or add more collateral, one or the two different options, right? You could add more collateral at the bottom, or you could repay it. Your loan to value will be in a better position. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I appreciate you.
Cool.
We're going to go to Drew next. Go ahead, Drew.
Easy. Hey guys, thanks again for hosting this. I'm just on my work break, so it's like beautiful. I'll jump on and follow along with you guys. So it's great to see you guys doing this. I had a quick question regarding the liquidation price, because so I've been using Anchor Protocol for probably 4 or 5 months now, and I've got a pretty like set in stone looping strategy of my own that I'm using, whereby I'm basically, as the price of Luna goes up and my TVL drops to 60%, I'm then borrowing UST to push it up to 72.5. And then of that UST, I immediately go and buy 50% of it of more B Luna to reduce my TVL and increase my collateral. And the other 50%, I then store on the earn section of Anchor in UST. And I basically got that as reserves then for buying the dips further down the line. I've recently tried a new strategy as well, where I'm dollar cost averaging, where each week I'm borrowing more UST with the sole intention of, just say 1% of my position, to then go and buy, 100% of that as Luna. But I'm trying to work out what like the liquidation price might grow to in that sense, because I haven't been able to find a good calculator for what the predicted liquidation price is, because obviously your collateral fluctuates with the price of Luna, but and subsequently your borrow limit is 80% of your collateral position, but then your borrow value obviously is just what you've taken. But I can't gauge exactly how to calculate a liquidation price.
It should be right. It should be right here, if I'm not mistaken. When you go to repay and you just move the slider a little bit, it gives you your liquidation price. Does that kind of answer your question, Drew? Did I misunderstand it?
So, Drew, when you set up that level that you want to borrow against, it will actually show you what your liquidation is.
Well, no, I'm saying when he repays it, if Luna is fluctuating in value, if you go to the repay and you just move the slider a little bit, it'll actually tell you what your estimated B Luna liquidation price is just by moving it just a tad. Does that answer you, Drew, or no? Did I misunderstand your question? I don't know if you got rugged.
I think he's talking about.
Sorry, my mic just went off. Yeah.
I think he's trying to predict
that perfectly.
Sorry, what'd you say, Drew?
I think he's trying to predict the future.
In a little sense, yes, Effie. I mean, so for me, so let's just say that I've got 100 Luna.
Yeah.
Each week I'm basically doing a accumulation strategy, like a DCA, but without me physically contributing more of my own actual external money. So I'm going, okay, cool, I'll borrow enough UST to buy 1 Luna, say 1% of my position, and immediately redeposit it. But I'm trying to figure out ahead of time, before even buying and then providing, what change that's going to make to my liquidation price. Because obviously, as you borrow more, even to buy 100% of Luna and redeposit, your liquidation price is going to go up. So I'm just trying to gauge, as I DCA each week, how, what changes I'm looking at to my liquidation price. Because I know that I play with a little bit more of a sketchy kind of level where I, as soon as I get to 60%, I automatically buy back up to 72.5 and sit in that region. So I'm obviously, I watch it very closely, but.
Sounds like a new calculator we got to
create. But no, look, you actually really helps with that, because I actually hadn't even thought about utilizing the repay section, so that definitely helps. So thank you very much for that.
Yep, no problem.
All right, we're going to go to Sugar, then we're going to go to Almighty, then Bionic, and then we're going to get back onto the Twitch. Go ahead, Sugar.
Yeah, thanks. I'll try to keep it quick. Seffi, great session today, man. I really enjoyed it. And Lucky, Big T, appreciate you guys putting this together. I think it's really helpful for a lot of people because there's a lot of moving parts to it. So my question was just aimed at, in what cases would I not want to, out of the gates, convert from UST to Luna as opposed to going to Luna, given that it's always discounted? Is that just because I know that if I'm going to do in Luna, the yield pools are better and the liquidity pools are better?
I'll give that one to Seffi.
Well, just real briefly, because we don't want to kind of like veer too far away from the very basics that he's showing. But basically, the first way to get bonded Luna is just simply go on Anchor Protocol, and there's a section called Bond, and you can actually convert Luna to bonded Luna 1-to-1, right? Like that's currently the worst way to do it because like you don't get any extra bonded Luna for that. By going to the exchanges, bonded Luna, for a variety of reasons that we won't get into right now, is obviously cheaper than Luna. And it generally stays that way. I'd say like 99% of the time. So some days you might be like 1% cheaper. Other days might be 0.5%. Other days it might be 2%. If you need to borrow off your Luna now, for whatever reason, and you're making that conversion right now, any discount is fine. If your goal is to like get the lowest possible discount on bonded Luna, or the greatest possible discount possible on bonded Luna possible, then you'd have to wait till that opportunity to arise or were to arise. And that's a whole different discussion as far as like, when would that likely happen and all those kinds of details. So I would probably like steer clear of that discussion right now, just to notice that in general, you're almost always going to get bonded Luna at a better rate than to simply bond it on Anchor Bond and to do it manually there. So generally, you do want to exchange for it on an exchange when you're going in that direction to bonded Luna. On the other hand, when you're trying to get rid of bonded Luna and go back to Luna because you're not using it as collateral, you almost always want to burn it in Anchor and not use the exchange. Why? Because you're going to have the opposite problem. It's going to be more expensive, and you don't want to just lose Luna for no reason. So you typically would burn it in, and that's going to be like something that he'll show a little bit later, what that's all about.
Yep. Oh, I think we lost him, but yeah, that was a good answer. Thanks, Seffi.
We're gonna go to the Degenerate because he was actually before Almighty and Bionic. For some reason, he lagged out. Go ahead, the Degenerate.
Hey, I have a question about like I'm doing a lot of stuff on Osmosis, but I want to start buying Luna. Is there a way to go from like Osmosis to Luna, or do I have to like go through an centralized exchange and then go back to Luna on like TerraSpace or something?
I'll show you that after we do Anchor. I'll show you how I connected the wallets, and you can go directly back and forth between the two.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, we're gonna go to Almighty, and thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for holding this space. I think Seb, you just answered my question about Bionic because that's my question as well. And honestly, this whole Anchor stuff is really new to me when it comes to borrowing. So I'm just gonna watch your Twitch. Just if I have any more questions, I'll definitely raise my hand.
Cool.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, and that goes for anybody in here. If you have any questions at any point, we will have stopping points between each segment. So please feel free, write down your questions, and then if it's relevant at the time, ask it. And then at the end, we'll just do an open mic and answer any questions anybody has. We're going to go to Bionic, and then we're going to go back to Twitch.
Hey everyone, appreciate all your insight. This is really, really helpful. I've been following you guys pretty much every 3 or 4 times a week for about 3 months now. And Seffi, you finally answered one of my biggest questions. So every time you go from B Luna and you want to burn it for more Luna, you always use Anchor and wait for that 21 plus days. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, that would be the best way to do that.
That would be the smartest way to do it.
Okay, that was my one question I just had forever was, all right, because every time I went to go from B Luna back to Luna on any exchange, that ratio wasn't there. So you just solved the puzzle for me, and I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, and
All right.
thank you for being here, Bionic. I greatly appreciate it. Real quick, Lucky.
Yeah, you guys rock. You guys are just awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks, Bionic.
thank you. We're gonna go back to Twitch, guys. So on the pinned tweet is Lucky's Twitch. So we're gonna go back to that, so you guys can follow along and view everything through his screen, and then hold your questions, and we'll have a pausing point, and we're gonna proceed.
All right. So we just gave the collateral, and we just borrowed 60% of 1 B Luna. So you guys can do the math. If you have 10 B Luna, it'd be 10 times this at a 60%, right? So I have $42.35. Now, you can kind of go multiple different strategies here. And, I would say for the newer people, in the real safe way that we like to kind of teach new people into the environment, is I could take that $42.35, I could go back to earn, and I could deposit it back into the earn, like when we started this whole Twitch, how I showed you guys how you deposit earn. I can literally take my UST and just dump it in earn. That's one option. Okay. And then when the loan to value starts creeping up and you get uncomfortable because it's liquid, you can remove it immediately, repay your loan, or repay enough to get you back to a comfortable spot. I would say that's kind of like the basic 101 entry of Anchor.
So let me okay. So for me and anybody else who's like me, so say I borrowed 60%, it's creeping along that 40 or 50%, and I start getting scared. I'm liquid at any point, so I can just reinsert UST.
Did he get you there, Big T?
Yeah, my wife called. Sorry. So essentially, if I borrow 60%, it starts creeping up towards 50%. So I have 10% left to go. I can, unstake and pay down that loan, or just add collateral to it so I don't get liquidated. Correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Hey,
why isn't everybody doing this?
Yeah. Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes.
When you, and it's exactly what Big T said, and I love the example, by the way, but as the loan to value increases and you decide that you want to basically exit the trade, right, or reverse it, these are the steps you do, which basically cancels it out, right?
Yeah, like if Luna starts dropping, okay, so let's go through some real numbers. If Luna starts dropping, so my collateral value starts dropping, the loan to value, the 60%, will start going up, right? Up and up and up and up and up. And at some point, you hit the liquidation mark. What people do, and when you hear people like, oh, I'm managing my loan to value, and when Steffi talks about how Nexus does all this for you, right? What people are doing here manually on Anchor is that they're monitoring the loan to value percentage. And when it gets to a spot where they're uncomfortable, they either have one of, we'll say 3 options, is you repay it with fresh powder that you have somewhere. I don't know where you have that powder at. So you have powder somewhere. You repay your loan to a manageable risk. If you have money in earn that you utilize, like I'm saying in this strategy, you took this 42, put it in earn, and let that earn some interest, you can take whatever you want right back out of earn and pay it down to a manageable risk. Or if you have B Luna somewhere, you can go provide that as collateral to up your collateral value, which in turn would lower your LTV. So I would say those are like the 3 ways that someone would go about it. I don't know if
I know it's great. I love it. I just wanted people out there to understand that you're able to adjust and modify what you're doing on Anchor, right? And what you're doing with these loops. Like there's stuff you can do.
We haven't looped yet. We're almost there on the looping.
This is wild. Like I can take something that I buy at $87. Knowing for damn sure, yeah, but I'm a special type of special. So knowing for damn sure that this thing is going to the fucking moon, right? I mean, that's just my opinion, not financial advice. But the fact that if this thing goes up in value, that I can collateralize myself in a way that this is just unbelievable.
Steph, did you want to add anything to this part?
Yep, that's how the magic is done. So
Holy shit.
But
So in
All
other
right.
words,
Yeah, go ahead.
like, so for example, like $1,000 worth of Luna that I bought at $5. When Luna's at $100, that's a 20x increase in my collateral value. So my $1,000 worth of Luna becomes,
$100,000.
well, 1,000 becomes 20 times that, so it'd be like 20,000, right? So that becomes $20,000 worth of Luna. And now that Luna's price is much higher than when I first got it, my ability to borrow off it's much higher. So like my 20K worth of Luna, I can pretty much like instantaneously borrow a good 50% off of about 50% of that with relatively low risk. So that would be another 10K I could just use whenever I feel like it, while still being exposed to the underlying price action of Luna itself, because right, it's in collateral. So that's kind of the benefit of having the benefit of being able to borrow off of your assets is extremely potent, because then you can like use that as part of your toolkit of like different things you can do with your money. And it'd be similar to your house, like you have a house, you can take a, like mortgage off of it and you can get cash out of it, right? But you have to go through like, like a bank, and then you have to have like turn in a bunch of paperwork, and then they have to approve you. And there's like an interest rate that maybe you like, maybe you don't, right? So there's a lot of features there. So here you can just sort of like get a loan instantaneously off my money, like within 30 seconds, like he showed you. And then like if I, let's say, for example, I go out and buy a car with that money, and then I figure, well, I'm working, I'm going to pay back my loan, that way, then I can just do that. I can just go bring new dry powder. Or let's say I buy Luna with the UST that I just borrowed. Luna's value goes up. Let's say Luna goes from $100 to 200. I could actually sell a portion and just pay back my loan with that. So there's different, you can use it to speculate. You can use the money for whatever you want, essentially. And that's the idea.
Yep. So we're going to do a looping strategy right now. Okay. So the basic 101 was take this 4235 and put it back into earn. And then, if Luna starts dropping, I repay it back. But if Luna goes up in value, you could essentially keep borrowing, right? Because remember, guys, as Luna goes up in value, LTV goes down in value. And when you manage your LTV, you can reborrow up to 60%, right? So you just got to kind of keep doing the math in your head on where you want to be. But let's take this $42 and let's go buy more B Luna. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Astroport. That $42 is in my bank account. So I'm going to buy $42.35. It's going to get me another half a Luna. So I'm going to confirm this. Give me a second. And this is what looping is. So what people do is now I've borrowed off the B Luna that I first put as collateral, and I'm taking that UST that I got, and I bought, I forget what I bought. How much did I buy? 0.49. And I'm going to now add that 0.49 as additional collateral. Okay. So now I'm going to hit that. I'm going to proceed. And what I'm going to show you guys is what it does to the numbers. Okay. Just so you guys have a context of what that looks like. So just let this process here for a second. Oh, that's great. Oh no, it worked. Okay. All right. So now look what happened to the numbers once the screen refreshes. The collateral value went up to $131. Why is that? Well, I just provided another half a B Luna that I bought off of my borrowed value. My borrowed value didn't change, but I used that money to buy my UST, because this is essentially what I owe back to, we'll call it the bank. My LTV went down to 40%. So as I provided more collateral, my LTV went back to 40%. If I wanted to loop it again, I could do this again. I can borrow back up to 60%. I can take that UST. I then can go buy another B Luna or whatever I can get out of it, or I can go put that in earn. But that's the whole process of looping. Where do the risks comes in with that looping? Well, if you end up not having enough, we'll say liquid liquid powder, liquid cash, or B Luna to provide as collateral, this is where when we talk about Kujera and how people get liquidated, it's because they're not able to manage their loan, and people are getting liquidated because they're not able to essentially pay back what they need to be with what they've done with the looping strategies.
Yeah, which you basically do not want to do is you don't want to loop it in such a way such that like you don't have any sort of cash left to cover your loan. So let's say Luna goes from like, I don't know, $100 down to $50 for some reason. If you don't have like UST sort of sitting around, then you don't have any way to lower your loan to value ratio, right? That's the first problem. The second problem is if at, let's say, $100 you bought Luna to do this strategy and you got bonded Luna, like he said, and reprovided it, and for some reason you got down all the way to where your LTV is, what people oftentimes do is they panic sell their bonded Luna, which essentially amounts to selling low, and essentially defeats the purpose of like, you know, the whole concept in the first place. So if you don't have an active process to manage your LTV, then what ends up happening is you just end up making a bad trade. And so you don't want to really do that. That's why like this looping concept is interesting, but it has to be done with some like strategic concept. And that's what I think one of the guys earlier was asking, like, okay, well, you know, how do I sort of manage that on the fly based on different prices of Luna so that I don't get my Luna liquidated? That's the key sort of like skill to sort of figure out. And, you know, usually it's a matter of just either getting more Luna from somewhere, bonding and providing as collateral, getting more UST from somewhere, like, bring in new UST into the system to solve this, or you have to sell what you already have, or in B Luna or something else, or use UST that you have stored aside for this process. So that's why, like, you don't want to keep on looping this over and over again, because you essentially get to almost 2x leverage. And what that means is like you don't have any cash left over to fix your loan if something happens on the downside.
Right. Big T, were you gonna ask something, or I was gonna go to the kind of what I was gonna do with this 42 this money.
Do you want to open up for questions or just hold off right now?
Give me one more second, then we can go to questions. So what I'm gonna do just to show you guys is I provided that half of B Luna back. So my collateral's down there. I'm gonna reborrow up to 60%. Okay, so my liquidation price, just to give you guys perspective right now, is $52. So if Luna hits 52, I will get liquidated. I'm gonna reborrow this $20. So essentially now I've borrowed $62 and some change is what my collateral or my borrowed value should go to. And I'm gonna go back to the earn, and I'm going to deposit that into earn, and I'm going to keep that money liquid, because if Luna does get down, then I am going to quickly take this out. I don't know what it was, 20 something. I'm going to quickly take this out and repay my loan. So that's kind of a way of doing a little bit of buying B Luna, adding it as collateral, and then using the borrow piece again just to put into earn. And again, everyone has their own strategy, but I'm just kind of showing the mechanism of what Anchor can really do. So Big T, we can open up for questions if you want.
Okay.
I would make a quick point. You should understand what you're giving up to. So when you're using bond in Luna, normally, if that's sitting in your wallet, it's actually earning UST, and it's earning it at a rate of like around right now 9% APY. So when you borrow off your Luna, you're losing that. Any bonded Luna that's sitting as collateral in Anchor, you give up your yield for the privilege to borrow. So that's sort of what you're paying for, and that actually reduces the actual cost to borrow as well, because you're sort of like paying into the system. So that's what's interesting about Anchor Protocol. This is why the long term, even when like you have to pay to borrow when the anchor tokens run out, the reason why this will be cheaper than most other places you could borrow is because naturally Luna has a yield, and that yield is actually going to the system in the form of like paying off your sort of loan almost simultaneously. And that's why, because it's a productive asset, it's different than just simply like just straight up borrowing from your bank or something like that. It'd be more like putting up your business as collateral at a bank, and they're taking the revenue from that portion of the business that you put up for collateral and, you know, lowering the cost for you to borrow. So hopefully that makes sense. It's weird, I know, but like it's different because it's a productive asset that you're giving as collateral, as opposed to a stagnant asset like Bitcoin, for example. So that's what makes the magic of DeFi possible, is like layer one coins you can provide as collateral that natively have yield, and that allows for some of this weird magic.
Yeah, that's a good point, Duffy.
So we're gonna go, and thank you for that. We're gonna go to Almighty, and then we're gonna go to Bionic, then we're gonna go to HGTP, and then we're gonna go to Anti-G, and then Mernal. So go ahead, Almighty.
I'm actually going to step down. I'm just listening to all this.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Bionic.
Hey, Seppi, one of the questions I had after your last statement about the B Luna is you're participating in the protocol. When you are burning it back to Luna, do you earn that interest in the meantime while you're burning it?
You do not. And actually, Lucky, you might want to like, I guess Lucky will show that whole process. Maybe you think?
Yeah, I'm going to show
the burning
next.
The burning and the claiming process. Like what is all that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show that next.
Okay.
But the answer is no, Bionic. You don't. That's correct.
Go ahead, HGTP.
Thank you. I have two questions regarding looping, and one is for, I guess, for Sephi. When would you actually use the loop function, or would you ever use the loop function, being someone who's like moderate with Anchor protocol and things like that? Because I'm trying to think, is there an advantageous point, such as when like the price of Luna drops, that would be a good time to loop, versus when the price is high? So that's the first question.
Yeah.
And the second, okay, go ahead.
Yes, exactly. The deeper the drop, the less likely crypto is to fall further, right? So if you've already gone down, let's say 60%, right? Like from $100 down to $45, or you know, something like that, like 103 to 140 to 45, I believe was the big drop. So at that point, it's much safer to do, say, for example, some looping and whatnot, right? Because it's just like any leverage. You're more likely to take a leverage long position, which is essentially what this is, the lower the price goes, right? Now, the problem is you don't know how low things could go. So therefore, like, you have to be cautious about anywhere you sort of start one of these processes. You want to like be cognizant of basically any further possible downside and have a plan for that. As long as you have a plan for that, then you'll be okay, right? But if you don't have a plan, you just like, you know, you're just going to scream at the top of your lungs when, you know, the price goes down and you don't have a way to manage your LTV, then you have a harder problem. So I tend not to borrow at the tops, even though my LTV is at its lowest there. I tend to, if I'm going to get more Luna or Loop or whatever you want to call it, I would tend to do that near, like, after big drops personally.
Awesome. And then the second question. Oh, go ahead.
And I think real quick, let me add to that. I think where people tend to make the mistake is because they see their collateral value increasing, they tend to probably pull the trigger to borrow when it's going higher, and they're not correlating that. Then if the price redrops, they're going to start getting to that liquidation perspective. So it's a little psychology there too. I think that people need to understand that I tend to see mistakes that way.
Cool. And then for someone who is looping, the end game for a looper, if they're not bringing any new fresh powder or fresh new UST to the table, then their hopes are potentially that the price of Luna, you know, gets exponentially higher. And then at some point when Luna's like, let's say they're doing a lot of looping at $100 Luna, But now Luna's like $300-400. Is that their hope then for them to start actually paying back on the loan? Because if not, the loan value increases of what you owe, especially if you figure in if we're not getting paid as much anchor rewards and so forth. Is that correct? Is the hope for a looper that the price just 2-3x's so they can start finally paying
generally,
back?
Generally this whole process is the concept of taking leverage. And anytime you take leverage, you look at your cost to borrow, your potential return on investment for borrowing, right? Like even if you borrowed a bank or whatever for a business, for example, and then you have to make a decision about like when would you sell such a thing to say pay off your loan, right? So all of that is up to you. As long as the cost to borrow right now is sort of neutral, essentially like basically zero, it's less of a concern. If the cost to borrow like rises because the demand for borrowers goes up a lot, then like you may, say, well, I'm just going to sell my Luna after it goes up 20% and pay off this loan or whatever, right? So it just depends on what your goals are. So it's no different than just buying Luna outright in the sense that your price, buying and selling goals and all that should be really not that much different. It's not that you have to have like Luna Moon to, a million for this to be useful. Like even a, 20% gain. And some people might say, you know what, I'm going to sell that and I'm going to pay off a portion of my loan or whatever. So that's all like all those strategies are more like going really into the weeds. But I think right now, just like maybe get back to like showing the actual protocol a little bit.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to go to Annie G, then Myrnal.
Hi, Sifa. Thanks for organizing this meeting. And I have a few questions actually. The first one regarding the loop strategy, AUST as a collateral on Edge protocol, do you think that it is causing a lot of Luna burn rate and it is unsustainable for Luna price?
So real quick, guys, I want to reel this back in. We're going over the basics of basics in regards to how to get on Anchor protocol and utilize the tools available. So I want to stick to that. If it's not questions specific to what we're teaching newbies, we're going to refrain from asking them right now. We will have an AMA afterwards where you can ask anybody, and you can ask whatever the hell they want. But for right now, we're not going to go there.
Got it. I guess no questions from my side then.
And that goes for anybody else that's up here. If it's topics, topic specific in regards to things that we've covered, or you have a question about anything that Lucky has covered already, please feel free to ask it. If not, please remove yourself from speakers. But like I said, afterwards we will do an AMA and we can, go off the deep end. We're gonna go to Igor next. Or sorry, no, we're gonna go to Myrnal next, then Igor. Go ahead, Myrnal.
Okay, hi everyone. Hi Sefai. So I had a question that if I convert my Luna to B Luna and let it just sit in the wallet, it would be automatically getting yields, or do I have to put it on stake or something?
No, once it's in your wallet, you'll earn the rewards.
Okay. Another question I have is then why is this 1-2% arbitrage there? Because you are also getting yields and also you are able to convert it in 21 days to 1 Luna. Then why are people not everyone is getting B Luna instead of why is this arbitrage of 1-2% there?
Yeah, real simple. The market's basically inefficient, and people in a rush tend to sell their bonded Luna to Luna because they're trying to cover loans and stuff. But the number of people going in the wrong direction, which is backwards, is actually higher than the people going into the Luna B Luna direction. So on the AMM or the automated money market, what happens is that you lose peg essentially, unless there's an equal number of buyers and sellers. And that's the only reason this happens. That people suddenly want to sell their B Luna to Luna, and that causes the peg to go in the other direction. They're willing to take a loss in order to get out of their B Luna quickly instead of waiting 21 days. So that 21-day wait basically creates that 2% premium essentially Luna versus B Luna. That's pretty much what's happening. So I know it's kind of complicated if you don't know how AMMs work, but there is no oracle that sets that price. It's basically just the market sets that price.
To me, it's free money.
Yeah, so like what I can do is like every 21 days I can use this arbitrage and like get 10 or 12% a year without any risk.
Yes, you can.
Yep. That's what we talk about a lot up here. I'll go over that next when we go to the burn section.
So, guys, we're not going to accept any new speakers up here. We're going to get back to topic. We're going to go through the people who have requested to speak already. And then when we have another stopping point, we'll accept more questions. We're going to go to Igor. Then we're going to go to Drew G. Then Seth. Go ahead, Igor.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
First of all, thank you for everything that you do for the community. Sefi, you're the reason I bought my first Luna, so thank you for that. Question I have is,
I feel like Sefi's like just the father of Luna.
He's like the god.
He's everybody's dad. Like,
get out of here.
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
He turns out to be like a 19-year-old kid when we meet him.
The question I have is, I'm pretty conservative with my LTV. Let's say the flash crash happens, and I'm wondering, I couldn't find it online, how much your Luna actually gets liquidated? Only to the safe point, so it brings your LTV back down to the
75%,
or
back to the 75%. I think Sefi was saying before that most people lose 20 to 25%.
Oh yeah, I missed that part. Sorry, because I just joined. So 75% is that liquidation, right?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
And can I have a question that's outside of Anchor Protocol, or is that for another day?
Can you just hold it for a little bit if that's all right?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and we're going to do an AMA afterwards, guys. So please, hold your questions, write them down, and you guys can fire away whatever afterwards. Okay, we're going to go to Drew G, then Seth, and then we're going to go back to Twitch and continue on. Go ahead.
Drew. All right. Hey guys, thanks a bunch for doing this. I just really was wondering, is this session being recorded? And same thing with the Twitch stream. Is it recorded so I can look back? Because I know I missed a lot, but I don't want to make you guys repeat stuff.
Yes, it is. It's being recorded on here right now, and then we have the Twitch is being recorded as well. There is no audio on Twitch, and we did that for a reason, so there wasn't a voiceover between the two. So all you'd have to do is just pull up the space and then pull up the Twitch the same way, and you'd be able to listen to it all the way through.
Okay, and they were started at the same time, so that it'll sync up like that?
Exactly.
Perfect. All right, that's all I have. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Cool. Go ahead, Seth.
Hey guys. So I kind of missed a little bit of when you were on the streaming. Hopped in a little late. Is there a time frame on this loan, or is it just as long as it's between the loan to value ratio or loan to value parameters that you set, or is it that Terra sets?
Is there a time frame to the loan? No, there's no time frame to the loan. The loan is based off of essentially you don't get liquidated and you just keep borrowing.
Well, there is, in a sense, a time frame in that, okay, so when the cost to borrow, right now there's Anchor token rewards to incentivize borrowing. So right now the cost to borrow is essentially zero, but when the cost to borrow becomes not zero, meaning it costs you money, what'll happen is the amount that you owe, that amount is going to start ticking upwards, similar to a regular, any other loan. So what'll happen is your LTV will start actually going up essentially over time, right? So what you're banking on is the idea that your Luna goes up faster than the cost to borrow.
Yeah. So there's no time limit. It's not you're not seeing a 5-year loan or 10-year loan, but Sefi's points are valid where you want to keep in check the APR percentage along with your LTV and ensuring that it's making sense, like we were talking about with the process. Is it now more beneficial to hold just B Luna in your wallet and get the yield? Are you borrowing where you're paying too much? You kind of have to put all that math together to figure out what makes the most sense. Does that answer your question, Seth?
Yeah, it does. As far as the low level question that I'm asking, and then you guys kind of added on top of that some really helpful information. So I appreciate that, Steffi. The other question that I had is like, as Luna goes down, and I have to now put in money to, uh, resecure the loan to value ratio, is what you guys were saying. I think I heard, and then so at that point in time, like, am I'm I'm buying B Luna for cheaper, and so is that going to now, if it starts to go up, not, is that like dollar cost averaging it all, or when it goes down and I have to secure the loan to value ratio, is that like me paying like interest, and that money's gone now?
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
If let's kind of go back to, you borrowed and your loan to value is going the wrong way, right? So you're getting worried. You have 2 to 3 different options on how to bring your loan to value back. You can just pay it with fresh powder through UST, plain and simple. Just pay back your loan, or bring back your loan to an acceptable rate. That's option 1. Option 2 is you provide more collateral, which then naturally will bring down your loan to value, right?
Okay.
So
and one very specific insight for people not to miss is that when you pay back the loan in UST, your loan to value ratio falls by, let's say, X amount. Okay. If you pay back your loan to value, I mean, if you add more collateral instead, right? Like, let's say you add B Luna as collateral because you bought that instead, that only like brings down your loan to value by like half of like X divided by 2, meaning it only half as much as if you just paid back part of the loan. So that's a really important insight when you're like looping or trying to figure out how to manage your LTV. Like, if you just buy more Luna to manage your LTV, just realize that LTV is not going to drop as much as having paid that exact same amount back at that moment in cash.
Yeah.
So it's like you're banking on the idea that, okay, I'm going to go buy more bonded Luna. I'm going to provide it. You're banking on the idea that, well, there's not that much further to go on LTV. So therefore, or like that much farther to go on Luna's price downwards, I'm just going to provide bonded Luna instead of paying it back in cash. So, but if you want to have the most aggressive reduction in LTV, it's always to pay back UST.
And I think, Seth, if you caught the part where we took the $42 that we borrowed against and bought half of a B Luna, our LTV went 60% to 40%. And what Seffi's saying is, if I would have taken that $42 in cash instead and just paid back the loan, which is essentially my whole borrow, I'd be at 0. Like it's one way or the other, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Kind of. I still need to watch the stream, and so I'm glad that it's recorded. And then there was one more question that kind of popped up. You guys said that, or with what you just showed us right now, you guys said that the borrowing cost is 0. Is that what you just basically tried to explain through the stream?
Yeah, the borrowing right now is 0.24%. So the rewards in ANK, if you look on the Twitch right now, is paying out 13.97%, and the borrow APR is 13.72. So I'm getting the ANK rewards that's offsetting my APR borrow.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
Okay, very cool. Thank you, guys.
All right. So I think I'm done with earn and borrow, and I've showed how to loop. So I looped and bought B Luna with my first borrow up to 60%. And then I reprovided that B Luna as collateral. So I went to 1.49 B Luna. And then I took that additional $20 that I borrowed to get back up to 60% and put it in earn. So I kind of showed you guys that little strategy there. Again, there's multiple strategies. I'm just showing you guys how to use the tool. Let's talk about the burning. Oh, look, APR went negative there. So now it costs actually to borrow. So let's go to the burn piece. So under B asset, you will have something called the Luna B Luna mitten burn. And this is the piece that we keep talking about. So I made a little spreadsheet while you guys were talking. And it's not like anything crazy. It's just 2 fields. Let me figure out how to get this up here. Hold on.
While he's doing that, guys, once again, if you click above the pinned tweet, we're live on Twitch as we talk here. So you can actually see a view screen and see what Lucky's doing. He's walking everybody through the process. So go ahead and click on that link above, and you can be part of the broadcast.
Okay. So let me know when you guys can see the Excel sheet. It takes a second. It's a little delayed.
You're good to go.
Okay. All right. So what we were talking about was on the decks, I can buy 1 Luna for $87.50, or I can buy 1 B Luna for $89.25. Right? So that is a 2% ARB that we talk about. Why is that important to know? Because when we talk about the mint and burn, essentially what we're saying is when you take this B Luna and you burn back to Luna, okay, I'm going to get 1 Luna. Sorry, I have these the wrong way. Let me flip that. My bad. Should be this way. Sorry. Okay. When I take my B Luna and I burn back to Luna, I'm going to get 1 Luna. So you guys can see where the ARB is now, right? Like if I would have bought 1 Luna at $89.25, I would have spent, we'll say, $2 more than just buying the B Luna. But to get to B Luna to Luna, it's that 21-day burn process. So I'm going to show you guys that on Anchor. Does that just like quick example help visualize and make sense, Big T? I'm asking you because you probably my easier use case here.
Fuck you. Yeah, it does.
Bloomer, makes sense? We good? Take that as a yes.
Yes, everything makes sense, dude.
Okay.
And I'm excited to learn that I can make 1.5% to 2% for 21 days. It's pretty cool.
I would point out an interesting point here. When like number one, like what is B Luna, right? Like why is it named different from Luna? Like what in the heck does it do? So that's an important point to keep in mind. What B Luna is it's essentially a version of Luna that's staked. So when you think about staking, when you go on Terra Station and you stake, like with a validator, right? Normally you get yield off your Luna, and that yield, if you guys have ever staked, comes in the form of some Luna, some UST, some KRT and other currencies, and like some airdrops, right? So what you're giving up with Bonded Luna is, number one, you don't get any airdrops. So that's one thing. The second thing is B Luna, it automatically sells any yield that comes in the form of Luna or other coins, and it converts it all to UST in the background so that can be used on Anchor Protocol to pay the system UST in yield. Okay, so that's what it's doing. So that's what you actually own when you hold B Luna. And what he's going to show you is when you hold it in your wallet, it's actually earning UST, but then where does that UST go? And you have to go into Anchor and you'll see a claim button there, and it will start accumulating UST. It won't show it instantaneously. Like every block, it's going to accumulate some UST. So a block on a blockchain, meaning a certain amount of time. And then you're going to see that accumulate there. So if you just hold, like if for some reason you just wanted UST from your Luna, you didn't want like more Luna, or you didn't want anything else, you could actually use B Luna as a tool just to extract Luna, right? Get the Luna yield, the UST yield, and do whatever you want with it. So maybe you can show that piece of the puzzle too, Lucky.
Yeah. All right. So, sorry, I was just getting Terra Swap set up because I want to show Stater too. All right. So the burn piece, I have B Luna. I bought it at my discount, and I'm gonna burn. Let's say.
Oh, and by the way, the term burn here refers to unstaking. Because really, like what you're doing is in the background, bonded Luna is staked Luna, right? I just said that. So normally on Terra Station, if you have to unstake Luna, what does that take? Like 21 days, right? This is the exact same thing, except it does so well, it's called burn here, but really you're just unstaking bonded Luna back to normal Luna.
Burn sounds so much cooler.
Yeah, it does.
So when people are like rushing to pay back their loan, or it's dipping, or they're impatient, you guys can see here that my 1B Luna gets me 1.0007 Luna, right? But if I do an instant burn, my 1B Luna will only get me 0.98 Luna. So see how that little mechanism right there, I lost a little bit of Luna. So the people that are trying to either get to Luna quicker to then, do something with, get to UST, I don't know what it is they want to do with it. They lose that little value of back to Luna. When you go through the 21-day process, I'm getting 1.00007. So if you guys go back to the beginning, we bought the B Luna on the DEX at a discount, and then I'm going to now burn this B Luna, which is unstaking, like Sefi just said, back to Luna. And if you do that every 21 days and you do it for the whole year, I think, what was the calculation, Sefi? It was like 20 some percent. I think that counts.
Yeah, you usually get 20+% more Luna doing that.
Yeah. So when I was talking in these spaces and I was saying, hey, every day since I don't know, Jan something, I've been buying 1 to 2 Luna a day and just burning it because I need my dopamine hit a day. So my dopamine hit a day is buy a B Luna, come over here and burn one. And then that's going to be like a rotating, we'll say ATM for me once that starts kind of pumping out, because I'm essentially going to be getting back in my wallet every 21 days, some more Luna. And then I'm just going to reburn that. And that's separate than what I'm doing through my borrow and what I'm doing on Stater and what I'm doing on Nexus. It's just my little strategy of like, this is my side hustle, I call it. And my side hustle is getting 2% every 21 days. Just hopefully that clarifies, us when we talk about that. So when I click burn, I'm going to hit burn. Let me prove this. Once it's approved, I'll show you guys where you can see what's going to be released over the time period. So let this kind of populate here. Just give it a second. Okay. Complete. All right. So if I go back to my B asset, and if I see this withdrawable Luna that you're going to see on the B asset tab, if I click withdraw, you're going to see what's pending. Okay, so I have 1 B Luna pending. And then what Sefi was saying earlier was based off of, once it comes out of pending to unbonding, you'll get a little description that says you've, burned 1 B Luna, 1 B Luna, and then it's going to be Luna in your wallet like 21 days from now. And it's like,
and it doesn't actually show up in your wallet immediately. You have to go to that little claim button.
Yeah, you have to actually claim it here and hit withdraw right here. So once it's ready, you have to actually hit withdraw right here. So
in fact, if you do that now, if you hit the claim button now, it'll show you how many more days left in the burn process too.
I don't think not yet. It needs a process, I think. Once it processes, it tells you that.
Yeah, you're probably right. But anyway, you'd scroll all the way to the bottom and it would basically show you, like I have like batches of bonded Luna burning every few days.
Yeah.
And you can see, it'll show you like how many days are left,
release. Yeah.
How many Luna it is, what date it's going to approximately release.
Yep.
And it'll just keep like, you can just, you can keep track of it there. But in other words, if you don't actually claim it, it'll just sit there. And it doesn't really remind you either. So you have to sort of keep, maybe put a calendar, reminder for yourself.
Batch?
It's per batch. So like every 3 days, Big T, what it does is like, if I burned 1 B Luna today, 1 B Luna tomorrow, and let's say 1 B Luna the day after tomorrow, and I caught that 3-day window, it would actually group all those together. And then it would say, Lucky, you're going to get 3 Luna on 21 days from, March 2nd. And then that's what will tell you when it's going to release.
This shit is crazy.
We talk about it every day.
Yeah, but it's different.
And it's weird. You might be like, why does it take 21 days? Because that's just basically the unstaking period of Luna naturally. So you have to unstake just like you would otherwise. And that's why it takes that time. But that's also why there's that like instant, like if you have the instant mode, you pay more for it. It's because you're paying for the freedom to get out of jail quicker, right? Now, why would you want to do that? Like, let's say, for example, you're one of these people that want to sell at some point and you feel like, oh my God, this is a price that I really need to sell right now because I love how much profit I'm making, right? So like, okay, Luna went to $100 and I want to sell some of it, but you're stuck in this bonded Luna format. So you're like, you don't mind losing 2% because you think it's worth it to make that trade and sell. Then you could like convert to bonded Luna to UST direct on Astroport if you want to, and like pay that extra 1 to 2.5 or 3%. It varies a lot. And you would lose some, but then you'd say, well, I made a good trade and that's the end of it, right? But however, if I was in bonded form or staked for that matter, and I was expecting to trade my Luna, like sell it at some point, then the problem is it's like if it's the middle of staking, for example, you can't sell. And bonded Luna you have a little bit more freedom to sell compared to traditional staking, because at least you can lose 1% or 2% of it and then have the opportunity to sell if you want, right? Like that's the big difference. But that's that 21 days is why like the market always prices bonded Luna slightly at a discount to Luna. And the rest of us take advantage of the panic and basically arbitrage that, where it's an arbitrage essentially is a risk-free trade. You go to, convert Luna to bonded Luna when it's at a discount, and you could burn it for 21 days and get free 2% Luna, essentially. You can do it over and over again all year long, which is what I did all last year.
That was perfect. Thanks, Effie. I'm glad you're here to help me with all that technical stuff behind the scenes. All right. So that's the burning process. Let's go back to the My page where we started real quick. Just to show you guys how that now updated. So essentially, it still shows what my UST's in my wallet, what I've deposited into Earn, what I'm borrowing, and then when I get my rewards based off of my APR that was showing in the borrow, I'll have my rewards show up here and I can claim them, and then I can decide if I want to stake them or sell them. And there was a question that I'll answer from Twitch. It said, the APR is only legit if you actually use your Anchor rewards to pay back the loan, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's important to understand.
Yep.
So, for example, if your Anchor rewards are coming in, and right now Anchor's price is like $3.50, right? And I sell that, then in order to make the APR like neutral, I need to actually pay off my loan with that Anchor token. Okay. Like, what could you otherwise do with that Anchor token? You could hold it. You could stake it too. It might have a yield of like 10 or 15 or up to 30%, depending on the time period in Anchor Govern, which is a different section. You could sell that Anchor immediately and pay back your loan. You could say, like, for example, when Anchor's price dropped a lot, the Anchor token dropped like $2. I just held it and basically like let the price come up, and now it's like $3.50. So then I sold it for a profit. So actually what I got paid to borrow, I also like profited from. But understand this, if you're holding that Anchor token, you are essentially leveraging to buy that Anchor token, because this is borrowed money that you're using for that too. So some people, if they're going to take on additional leverage, they'll just simply take that Anchor token, convert it to Luna, for example, or convert it to bonded Luna, like I just did 5 minutes ago, literally. And, if I think Anchor's price has gone up sufficiently and I'm like, I don't really want to hold it right now, you have these different options as far as what you're going to do with it. But realize that my loan amount is ticking upwards because I'm not using the Anchor to pay back my loan, right? So it's no different than borrowing more.
Right.
Does that make sense to everybody? Because like I'm using my ANK tokens instead of paying back the loan. It's almost no different than taking on more loan because your loan's value is rising every day.
Yep.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it took forever for that to make sense because people are like, what am I getting paid anchor tokens to borrow for? And what's going on here? It's really confusing.
It's like, I'm getting a reward. Why am I getting this reward? I love it.
Yeah. What's with this reward? And what is the deal with the price going up and down? Right. It's really confusing.
I find this whole space, like coming from the capital markets, like there's enough going on in Anchor that you guys understand, and you understand like the 2 or 3 different areas and where to move it and how it's going to trade. There's plenty going on in this system. It seems, I'm excited.
All right. So I think where I want to go next, Steffi, I'll kind of run this by you, probably just from an overall perspective. I was going to show the Stater Labs piece of the Luna X liquidity pool because I get asked that a lot. I don't know if that's something we want to jump into just to show how to buy the LP token.
Maybe see if there's any last questions regarding like the mechanics of how to use Anchor specifically. Because part of why you need to learn how to know how to use Anchor is like all other possible opportunities within the Terra ecosystem are related to this indirectly. Why? Because one reason is the number one place you can get yield on Terra or in DeFi period right now, in like anywhere, is on simple yield is going to be the 20% that you get on Anchor for UST, right? So that's one opportunity in the universe of opportunities. And then you have like, what other opportunities could you use your Luna for, right? So bonding it and borrowing off it is just one possible thing you could do. You could sell Luna. You can buy more of it. You could do this B Luna arbitrage, shenanigans that we talked about. And then there's like other things you can do with your Luna. And that's where it gets to be like more and more interesting. But you really need to understand first and foremost what you can do with your Luna on Anchor or what you can do with UST on Anchor. Because if you don't know those, then you don't know how to like additionally compare the value of those things with what you're going to do with your Luna or your UST and other activities in DeFi in Terra. Everyone got that? Like, so you have to know like exactly how that works so you understand the opportunity cost of doing something else. Okay.
Yep. No, good speech over. All right. So we had a couple people come up. Let's go with Andrew, then the Degen, and then DM.
Hello. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So what I was going to ask about, because you were talking about repaying the loan, right?
Yep.
And for me, I think Lucky, if you could mute yourself, because I'm hearing myself.
Oh.
Thank you. Sorry, it was like double me. So with repaying the loan, you guys were discussing repaying the loan, but for me, I've got, let's say, just to keep it easy, I got 10,000. That's my borrowed value, and in earn I got sitting about 6,000, right? Which means that I'm earning with the net APR right now being negative 0.15. I'm earning like 19.15% interest on that, right? So is that like, do you guys recommend that I do like repay that loan and try to clear that out as quick as possible? Or because as far as I see, I'm earning interest on this USD and I'm kind of using this USD that's sitting in earn to DCA slowly into Luna. And, I'm of the faith, just like you, that over time Luna go up.
Yeah, your risk of doing that is super low. So yeah, you can do that. You're obviously getting more yield in Anchor Earn than you are actually spending on the borrow. And as long as that's true, you can just basically look at, okay, how much yield did I get every day? Do I have enough to buy some Luna after a day or two or whatever that, I don't know what your time to, make enough money is, but then you could just take that UST, take it out, and you can do other things too. You can go get Luna immediately to bonded Luna so you get some free. And then you could use that bonded Luna to say, for example, manage your LTV. if you want, so you can like use that to bolster your LTV if you'd like. You could leave it in your wallet and get UST with it. You can just burn it immediately if you'd like. So there's different sort of strategies depending on what you're intending to do, right? Because if you're planning on borrowing more, you need to sort of build up a pool of bonded Luna, have it ready to go. If you're not, then there's different schools of thought depending on what your strategy is going to be.
Yeah, I would say it's a personal strategy, right? I mean, it's kind of like what Steffi said, like what's your goal? You good, Andrew, or do you have any other questions?
Sorry, I don't know if it was just me, but you broke up towards the end there. It could just have been me.
I think it was just you. I think the gist of it was more about, what's your strategy? I mean, that strategy is we'll say slow and less risky because you're earning and then you're DCAing in. It's all about what you want to get out of it and how fast or how much risk you want to take.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to check in because the fact of the matter that when you guys just said take your UST and buy B Luna, I just realized how much of an idiot I've been, and I've been buying Luna for it, and it's like so obvious, right, when you say it. So I was like, I gotta double check so I'm not missing something super obvious here in like my strategy. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time with that, because buying the B Luna straight up instead of buying Luna and then converting into B Luna, it's I don't know. I got no excuse for not doing that.
I'm glad the light bulb turned on. But yeah, let us know if you have any other questions. Go ahead, the DGen.
Hey, I guess this is a question for I guess both of you, but I know Seffi's pretty crazy with the TA and stuff like that and market sentiment. With the, absolute master pump that's been going on in the last couple days, do you think now would be a decent time to do maybe like a once loop around, or do you think we're gonna have to cool off here for a couple days before we keep going up?
Yeah, these are really tough calls to make. It'll probably do the opposite of whatever I say. So therefore,
really hard.
I would look at it this way. Like if you have B Luna now and this is how I think. If I believe I should borrow off my bonded Luna right now, right? Like I think it's like close to $90 and I want to get a little bit of Luna with that. I should be prepared budget wise, in my mind. I should be prepared to be able to get more at 80. I should be able to be prepared to get more at 70. That's kind of how I think. Like I want to be like capital preserving. I want to preserve my borrowing power for the absolute sort of lowest possible prices, which is how like I did $103 down to say, like $45 or whatever. Now, we've already sort of like bottomed. We're heading back towards more like all-time like high. Like Luna's the strongest thing in the entire market. Probability of going to all-time high is super high. So do I think it's reasonable to like borrow off my Luna and get more at this price? Yeah, I think so. But then again, it depends on where you are in the entire process of what you're doing. Like I've been doing this already since like $4 Luna or whatever. So like the numbers of ups and downs I've done this on repeatedly over and over again is substantial by now, right? So if you realize that these strategies work irrespective of Luna's price, then you realize, wait a minute, like the collateral is really the power to be able to get more Luna whenever you feel like it. So, that's how I look at each new Luna I get. I look at it from the perspective of, okay, like if I borrowed on the way down, I want to take the maximum leverage the farther down the price goes. So it really depends on you and where you are with things. Like if you feel reasonable about taking a high amount of leverage, even looping, for example, multiple times, but you have a plan for, let's say, if the price fell, like you have UST waiting on the sideline that you can then deploy, pay off your loan, and that's a very different strategy, right? So like I don't know how much dry powder you're willing to keep to be able to say anything about how much you ought to borrow, when, and all that, right? So it really depends on like how degenerate you're going technically. And since your name is actually the degenerate,
you gotta be degenerate then.
Got to do a triple loop right now, I guess, eh?
Yeah, you need to do a triple loop right now and just get wrecked. Yes.
I will say you said something super important that I think about every day. So every day that I buy one B Luna, or 2B Luna, I think about it as like when this thing's $1,000. Like this is how my mind thinks. When this thing's $1,000, I'm gonna be able to borrow $400 off of every B Luna I buy right now. Like I just do that in my head, and I look at the opportunity that I'm going to be able to utilize in the future, outside of the whole looping question. But I thought that was an important point you just talked about that some people don't think about in the future appreciation of the value.
Yeah, and you should also think of it from the perspective of like, okay, what am I giving up in terms of the yield off my Luna as well, right? Because I'm giving that up to Anchor. So let's say, for example, you were like headed into some kind of protracted bear market where you had to like you did this whole looping thing and you bought all the way to the bottom, and now like you're not able to extract that collateral, and you can't. You're giving up your yield, but then there's like the market drags for like a year and you gave up that yield, right? So you see how you see how the cost to borrow sort of just went up in a sense, because that was yield you would have gotten off your Luna, risk free, and now you're like having to wait for that to like Luna to go up again to like exit this position, so to speak. So cost to borrow is not just like the APY, but how much time you're going to plan on borrowing. Like, would I be this aggressive with the way I do it if I thought like Luna wasn't on like a really aggressive growth path right now? Probably not, right? But like, let's say, I don't know, Luna makes some massive move to like $500 or something, right? And it goes crazy. And then like, if some new person comes up and asks me, hey, wait a minute, like how much are you going to borrow and how much are you going to loop? I might be a lot more careful at that point, right? Because the potential upside may be considerably less than the potential downside, and then you have to be more careful.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at 45. It was just a beautiful buy, and I'm not getting a big lump sum of money for like a month now. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just do one loop or something at this price, and then hopefully it doesn't crash too bad. And then maybe in a month or so, when I get that, I can, if it does crash, buy lower. But if it's up, then take advantage of it.
Exactly. The what you're saying is that because that you expect sort of like cash flow coming in that you can spend on this process, therefore like you can plan ahead for, okay, I could manage my LTV or with that, or I could pay some of my loan back with that or whatever, right? So yeah, everyone's situation is going to be different because their cash flow situation and their capital deployment and their time horizon is going to be different. So there's no one size fits all for this, that's for sure.
And so when you borrow, it shows it'll show you your liquidation on here, or do you have to calculate it?
Now, if you go to repay and you just move that just a little bit, like a penny, they'll tell you what your liquidation value is after you borrow. But when you actually borrow, it tells you also what your liquidation is if you increase your borrow. So like it tells me right here. So you can get it from either one of the two tabs. Go ahead, DM.
Thanks, guys. This is awesome. Very good. I learned a ton, took a ton of notes. I sort of, before you moved on to talking about, the protocols and Stater and all those things, I kind of want to just, for myself, sort of bring it home. When you talk about the different assets, obviously UST and BLUNA, I understand why you want those sort of on the sideline, right? You can use those to bring down your loan. But what is the benefit? I mean, other than sure staking and just kind of having it, what is the benefit of having Luna sitting there? It just seems to me as a newbie that it's more beneficial in the form of either UST or BLUNA, if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, you're talking about. So I guess Lucky's going to show some things on Stater, and I guess I don't know if he wants to show simple staking first, but like, yeah, what are the different opportunity costs or opportunities for your Luna is obviously a whole discussion. But I tend to find that one of the most powerful utilities for Luna tends to be its function as collateral, and Anchor makes that possible. And so that therefore it adds like a lot of value that you can't get out of most other crypto, right? Like that's one of the key features that if you don't get this, you don't understand why Luna's price is going up the way that it is, right? Like instantaneous collateral is super powerful. Like in other words, my Luna is more useful than my house. It's more useful than my car. It's literally more useful than anything in a sense because it's instantaneous collateral with no third party required. So yeah, the collateral value and borrowing off, it's one of my favorite things to do. And then Lucky's going to cover some other possibilities of what to do with it, like with your Luna, just in case you don't want to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll cover the staking on just Terra Station, and then we'll go to Stater and show you how to put Luna and Luna X, and just talk about the APY there, or that they provide, and just a quick overview for people.
So guys, we're gonna go to Bionic, then Halo, and then we're gonna let Almighty come up, and then we're gonna go back to Twitch. So that'll be the last one we allow up, and then we're gonna continue on. Go ahead, Bionic.
Hey, thanks again for let me ask so many questions, fellas. Hey, Sephi, one of the questions I had is, what percentage of ARB are you always aiming for with Luna to be Luna? And maybe mention to all the new people here what you utilize to monitor that.
Well, I used to think anything like 1.6 or more was better. But for reasons that are not clear to me, for the last, I don't know, month or two, the arbor rate has been running like 2% fairly commonly, and even higher than that. So 2% is a pretty good like rate. It varies. So one of the things you can do is use a Telegram bot called ArbiBot. That's ARBIEBOT. You can look them up on Twitter, and you can run that on Telegram, and it will like alert you when like the ARB rate is more than, better than 2% discount. So that's kind of how you can sort that out. But really, like, if you're doing this constantly, remember, like, you can, if you immediately immediately ARB and burn every 21 days, exactly when your bonded Luna emerges, like you don't waste any time in the next burn cycle, right? So you could wait and see if you can get a better rate, or you can just simply like ARB it and burn it, and just be done with it. Like, that's why I like what Lucky's doing, and I'm doing the same thing, which is every few days continually to have some be Luna, so you're sort of dollar cost averaging the discount too. So if I have to wait, then I can wait, because it's not all of my Luna, it's just some of it. And then I can just wait for a better rate, and then take all of that on that day that the rate is 2% or more of discount, and I can swap Luna at that point. But remember, when you're sitting in Luna, it's not earning anything, like the other gentleman mentioned. So it's neither like, you're not sort of like getting the ARB at that moment, you're not getting any yield at that moment. So that's the you don't want to wait too long necessarily for a good ARB rate. Sometimes, if it's 1.8% or something, I'll just go for it.
Yeah, and Bionic, and for the people listening, like a couple of days ago, there was a 5% ARB from Prism that you were able to get. So I mean, they're out there. You just got to kind of always be watching and getting it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess those other protocols are the ones I don't really understand that well yet. So appreciate it, guys.
Yep. All right, go ahead to Halo, and then we'll jump to simple staking and Stater. Go ahead, Halo.
Hi, thanks for letting me ask the question. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So I had a question about unlooping. So even though, we're all lunatics, we'll never sell until 1,000. But let's say that you hit your number using anchor leverage collateral, and you want to start unlooping so that you can pay down your loan and, just be happy with what you got. Are there any strategies in between withdrawing your B Luna and then converting it to UST to pay down your borrowed anchor loan, where there's any interesting ARB opportunities or any tricks to maximize how you can unloop in the event that you want to essentially exit? So
yeah, Halo, like the simplest thing you might want to do is, as your collateral value goes up, like lately, how Luna's value is going up, you can actually withdraw your collateral because your LTV is going down, right? And you can just go ahead and start burning that bonded Luna a little bit every few days, and this sort of like watch the price as it goes up. And if you can also just keep bonded Luna, in your wallet to just earn UST also while you're waiting. But you could use the yield to pay back your loan in theory. That's one option. You could also simply like be selling bonded Luna, or let's say you're burning it every 3 days, or I'm sorry, you're burning every so often, and then you wait 21 days, and then you're like, okay, I like the where Luna's price is right now. Now that it's burned and back to regular Luna, I can sell it without a loss, and I can just sort of like dollar cost average into selling it if I want to, right? And then you can use that cash to then pay back your loan.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I figured that part out, but like, there's so many effective in between strategies. The one that I thought of, and I'm just kind of I want to stress test this with you, is kind of so if we use Meow Trader, and we look on CoinHall, the B Luna ARB fluctuates, and at least for the past 2 months or so, every 10 days, instead of using the 21-day burn, if we use Meow Trader, we could actually get similar to how we get 2 to 5% ARBs in buying B Luna. When we want to convert B Luna back to Luna, about every 10 days or so, there was a spike up to 1-for-1. So I would have been able to wait instead of 21 days, just 10 days and convert my B Luna back to Luna. But for me, I'm worried that, like let's say there's a flash crash while you're burning your B Luna back to Luna, or I'm waiting on Meow Trader for a 1-to-1 ratio to convert back to Luna without losing, any 2% for an instant burn. So that's one strategy that I've thought of that's less than 21-day burn. And for me, the reason I'm trying to think of different strategies to convert back to Luna in the event of an unloop is so that essentially I don't have to be subject to the price fluctuation in those 10 or 21 days in the event, for example, of a flash crash.
I mean, I would say that is probably one of the main reasons why I'm trying to start this little cycle of burns every couple days. I mean, just to be honest, I want to have fresh B Luna always there, but I'm also earning on the side. I mean, that's kind of my quick answer to you. If you have the cash available to kind of go through that, but go ahead, Seth, if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's a lot of different strategies to like, if the goal were to sell along the way. But here's the reason why I don't bother. Because like the more times I do the Luna bonded Luna ARB, right? So let's say, for example, I did it 10 times at 2% approximately each time. I now have 20% more Luna, right? With no risk whatsoever. Like, why would I want to pay my loan back? It's crazy. So like it really doesn't make almost any difference what Luna's price is, because if you're making that much extra, you're literally like mitigating a drop of 20% over a, let's say, 10-month period of making 2% ARBs, right? So like, look how powerful that is over a period of time. So that's the reason why I haven't bothered to like sell Luna at some price and then try to pay back loan. Now, an argument can be made that I would have made a lot more money had I done that. Like if I had predicted the top perfectly, at 100 before, and then I paid off my loan, and then I borrowed again at the very bottom, or something like that. Clearly, that would have worked out. But I don't necessarily trust myself to predict those tops and bottoms perfectly. So what we're doing is we're discussing ways essentially to eliminate a lot of that price volatility concern by talking about strategies that like will win in almost any price direction. And that's a very key distinction. And that, because over a period of time, like you sort of know you're going to win, and like you're almost guaranteed to in a sense. And another big reason to understand this whole process is to realize why nobody else probably wants to sell their Luna either. So when we all joke around saying, like, I don't have enough Luna and nobody can have enough Luna, this is what we're saying, right? Because like it's so powerful to have Luna as opposed to try to like sell it and like make predictions, that like we just got to the point where we just avoid that entirely, which is why Luna's price is going crazy, right? Because there's really not a good reason to sell it. That's why we joke about how like there's a dual meme effect. There's UST adoption that causes Luna burns, but because Luna itself is so useful, it also has its own like network effect of people using it for these purposes. So, but yeah, Halo, you can sell it if you. And one of the ways to do that would be like DCA out, which is essentially to say you're burning some B Luna every few days, as the price rises, so that you have like Luna fresh there that is not bonded anymore, and you can sell it without like any concern. And if you do small chunks of that, like on the way up, that would be fine too, right? Like if you prefer to pay off your loan, certainly reasonable.
Cool.
So, guys, real quick, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you follow the speakers. Also, retweet out the space so it brings more people in here. And then we're going to go ahead and get back on Twitch.
Yep. So everyone click that link up top. If you're new, click the Twitch. I'm just going to recap real quick of what we done, just so we all kind of re-baseline. So we started with earn. We showed people how to earn. We bought B Luna. We explained why buying B Luna is better than Luna with the discount. From there, we added that B Luna as collateral on the borrow. We then borrowed off of the collateral, and we took that borrowed value. We went back to the DEX, and we bought more B Luna. And then I took that loan to value back up to 60%, because when I added that collateral back, my loan to value went down like we discussed. And then I took that extra little bit of money and I threw it into earn. And then now I'm essentially can watch my LTV over time to ensure that I don't get liquidated. Real quick, I don't know the answer to this. Sefi, maybe you do. Is it still the case that if you have less than 2,000 in collateral on Anchor and get liquidated, you lose all of your Luna? I was not aware of that. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know if that was changed or not. So That's a great point. I don't remember.
Okay,
I've never had that load of amount in there, so I have no idea. But that's quite possible. It's still there. I don't know if they changed that with the recent updates.
And then with the B asset, then we went through what the burn looks like. So with the burn, we took that discounted B Luna we bought and we burned it to Luna. And then we showed you guys how to see when the withdrawal is going to happen. And that's kind of where we're at. So I would say the next kind of segment of this is going to be touching upon staking of Luna just real fast to show you guys on Terra Station where you could stake that Luna with a validator. And then we'll go quickly over to Stater and just explain how to get a LP token to get into Luna X liquidity pool. And then I was going to finish off the night just showing Osmo with how you can set up your Kepler wallet with your Terra Station wallet and just show you guys what it looks like when you bring over your UST. And I'm hoping to do that all within the next, like, we'll say 30 to 45 minutes, because I don't want to be on here for 4 hours. So, all right, let's do it. You ready, Sefi?
Go for it.
All right. So, Terra Station, station.terra.money. You guys can see here on the Twitch that you can go to stake here, the stake tab. And with the stake, you can find a validator that you would want to stake with. And Sepi, I don't know do you have anything put on here? I don't know if I even have anything anymore. Isn't Donku's on here too? Is Donku
Yeah, staking essentially, like what you get when you stake is you essentially secure the network by providing sort of like financial security for the network. You get yield from the Terra ecosystem, which currently runs around close to 9%. You also get access to claiming airdrops. Normally, what you'd have to do to claim airdrops, right now, I believe Anchor tokens and a few others are available. You would go to the individual websites or dApps of those particular tokens. Like, for example, Anchor, you would claim them on the Anchor protocol itself, and you have to go one by one to each of those dApps and claim your airdrops. So that's what staked Luna. And the other thing is you can also claim the Luna and UST yield that comes in. And there's a claim button on Terra Station to do that. So that's one round of things you can do.
I think this is Donku's, right? This one right here?
Probably.
Okay.
What I would say is
quick plug for him. Stake with him.
Yeah, stake with Danku or with Orbital Command or PFC or Marta Cloud. Like I like the idea of like staking to the community validators. There are already plenty of industrial grade people like staking with the what should I say, like the professional validator companies like Hashed and things like that. So the community validators tend to be people that participate in things like bringing you neat websites or bringing you content or whatever. So take, for example, Smart Stake. They provide that like neat burn page that we all follow to see how much Luna is being burned. Or like some of the validators like PFC, some folks are developers and they kind of help build things in the ecosystem, or like, like there's all sorts of different reasons why people become community validators, but it does help the general community for people to like stake with those folks. So that's pretty much about what you need to know is staking for now. Staking your Luna has been a very, very like reasonable, lucrative thing. The risk there is super low as far as like what we call slashing risk. A majority of the validators have been high quality. And then if you're not sure, what he's going to show next is Stater Labs, which sort of has handpicked some validators that actually already have high performance status or stats. And what's nice about the ones on Stater Labs is the Stater Labs actually auto compounds your rewards. So what it does is it has a one-click place to get all your airdrops from across the ecosystem. And the second thing it does is it takes all of your UST and whatnot that you get in terms of rewards and buys more Luna with it. So essentially functions as an auto compounder, which makes you make a little bit more money over the years. So that's Stater Labs, and you might want to check that. Yeah, you're going to show that now?
Yeah, I'm going to show that now. So just to round this off, stake onto station.terra, find a validator. I just pulled up Donku's. You can click it. You can delegate. It'll open up, your wallet, and then you can put your Luna in here, and then you have to go through the undelegate period, which again is like unstaking essentially. But that's how staking at a high level, quick hit looks like. So Stater, which we like to talk about a lot. So terra.staterlabs.com has something called the liquid staking. So let me connect my wallet here. And again, I think you guys have seen all these spots that I'm going to. Essentially, I'm just connecting my Terra Station wallet, and it just pulls it up. So when we talk about protocols, you can equate it to websites, and all these websites just pull my wallet details, and so I'm able to interact with whatever assets I have in my wallet. So as this loads here, terra.staterlabs.com. Let me go to the pools here. I don't know why it's not setting up. Okay. All right. So there's the Luna X, which is paying out an APY of 8.69%. And just like B Luna, you'll find that you can get a pretty good, we'll say, discount in ARB off of TerraSwap. If you go directly from UST to Luna X. So I found some good rates. I think one time it was up to like 4%, if I remember right. Sefi, you had to actually tweet about it a while ago, and I bought quite a bit when that happened. And you can find ARBs like that again, just like you find ARBs for B Luna. Because again, there's essentially the same thing of the quick burn or the unstaking of, I think it's 21 to 24 days. So people that want to burn quickly essentially lose that value versus people that wait through that period. So I would say similar to what we talked about with the Luna to B Luna. And then down here, there's this, I call it the lossless kind of liquidity pool. And why it's lossless is because you're essentially staking Luna and Luna X. You're getting an APR of 28.98%. So you are earning fees by being a liquidity provider on TerraSwap, but you're also getting rewards, SD rewards that you will see over in your rewards tab. And this is what we were talking about, where as your rewards accumulate, you'll get your SD tokens here, and your airdrops will all be provided to you right here, where you can withdraw them all at once. And that's what Sefi was saying before. So I get a lot of questions through DMs on like, I don't understand how to get into the Luna X liquidity pool. Okay. And what it is you are actually creating an LP token on TerraSwap that you are providing Luna and Luna X an equivalent value. And once you do that on TerraSwap and you refresh the Terra Data Labs website and it's in your wallet, it automatically will show you right here. So I was going to walk people through that. And maybe, Sefi, you want to add some context as I kind of do it on the screen on whatever you want to cover on this. Big T, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Maybe you had to step away for a second. Sefi, if you come back, just interrupt me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to TerraSwap. I have my wallet connected. I am going to go from UST, and I'm going to first buy Luna X. Okay. And I'm going to put, we'll say, $45 worth here. And so I'm going to get 0.50 of Luna X. So I'm going to swap this.
And what Luna X basically is, by the way, it's a slightly different thing on Stater protocol. You have two possible things you can do on Stater. You can just simply go to a validator. You can, or like a pool of validators, you can stake with them and automatically auto compound your yield. Luna X is different. Luna X is a coin where the value of the coin rises over time, right? It's not the same as just Luna. It's actually supposed to have it's going to increase in value more than Luna because the rewards are being like value accrual to the token itself. So it's essentially a liquid staked Luna. So imagine B Luna is a liquid staked Luna, but it emits UST. We talked about that. But Luna X is a liquid staked Luna, but the value increases the value of the coin. It's a slightly different, what we call primitive in DeFi. So each of these different versions is like a different mechanism of how the value from the yield is actually utilized. So Luna X, if you just bought it and held it in your wallet, like the coin value would actually rise even faster than Luna does over time. That's the idea. So for example, like in a year, if the APY for Luna is 9% and you have like $100 worth of Luna X right now, then in a year, Luna X, as it rises in value, should be worth approximately like $109, right? Like that's the difference.
And so what I'm doing while he was talking was I bought $50 worth of Luna X and $50 worth of Luna. And so I'm going to show you guys how to create the LP pair to do this. So I bought on the DEX, both of those. Now I'm going to go to provide. And in provide, right? So there's swap and then there's provide. I'm on TerraSwap. I'm going to pick my two coins. So I'm going to pick Luna X and I'm going to hit max here. And so it says that my 0.50 of Luna X needs 0.50 of Luna to provide because it needs to be an equal, right? Because we talked about liquidity pairs and it's 50-50. And I'm going to hit provide here. And so once I provide this, I'm going to sign my contract. What it's doing is it's buying the LP token that will sit in my wallet. And when I go back to Stater Labs, what we should see once I refresh my screen is I'm going to hit enter. I should see in my pools now a 0.50 and 0.50, which is going to show right here. And there you go. That's how you buy the liquidity token, LP token, and that's how it shows up right there. Hopefully that was pretty straightforward.
And a liquidity token essentially means that you are providing Luna X and Luna for people to trade back and forth between the two. Any fees that are collected by TerraSwap to do that, some of those fees are coming back to you, and that's increasing the value of the LP token. Similarly, the Luna X within that pool, right, or within that LP, is also accruing value spontaneously. So that's also adding value to your LP token. So like a year from now, you'll have half of your pool earn the 9% APY, right? Because only half of it's in Luna X. And then, but the whole pool, transactions back and forth, are also adding some value. And I don't know what the current rate is, but it tends to run between like maybe 5 and 10%, let's say. So that's just a different sort of like yield opportunity, so to speak, by doing that. But because Luna and Luna X don't change that much in value, it's a sort of a neutral pairing.
Yeah, I call it a lossless liquidity pool.
A relatively lossless, because well, your Luna X is going up, so it's actually going to, over time, I guess, sell some of it to Luna, right?
Yeah.
But it's like somewhat lossless. Yeah, it's a slightly different yield opportunity, essentially. But doing liquidity provision is like a whole discussion in and of itself, really.
Yeah. I just want to show that because that's probably one of the highest questions I get in my DMs. Anything else you want to show on Stater? If not, I was going to jump over to Osmo.
I guess you have a chance to show briefly, like just simple community staking and like Stater Plus, which is like just individual validators. Anyway, people can play in there, but there's ways to stake where essentially you're getting auto compounded rewards. So the benefit there is like, let's say you're concerned about taxes, like we talk about a lot. And let's say you don't want to keep claiming rewards on your Luna and then having to buy more Luna with it. You just want it to automatically happen in the background magically. Then the beauty of Stater is you don't have to claim anything until you feel like it. So it's like having almost like a I don't know, like a Roth IRA or something, where essentially all your dividends and everything are going back into buying more Luna, but like it doesn't show up as anything on as a taxable event. So it's super tax efficient. And also if you auto compound, you get a slightly higher, like you might get 0.5% more Luna at the end of the year by auto compounding it versus had you done it manually. So there's a little bit of like auto compounding, like yield benefit. And then there's like a tax benefit where it just does like, you don't create a million taxable events every time you claim and then take all those little coins and buy Luna with it. So it's a lot simpler, I would say.
I'm wondering if I should, sometimes I'm too spread thin, so I don't look at all the APYs. I'm wondering if I should take my Luna X, because I have a handful of Luna X, and just go back to Luna and just stake it in the Stake Plus.
If you're not using the Luna X for any particular purpose, then you're better off in just the regular staking. And the reason is because the fee for Luna X in the background is like 10%, which of your yield, which, loses like 1% total yield. So I don't really use the Luna X yet. There are some functions for Luna X that are available, like on Edge Protocol to borrow and some different things. So you can get into the weeds a little bit there, but like ultimately right now, most people, if they just want to sort of get the yield and auto compound it and like just fire and forget, Stater Labs is a great way to do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we stop here real quick, Big T, and take any questions on Stater and staking.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions, feel free to request up. And if not, we'll go ahead and go on to the next topic.
No requests. All right, cool. Oh, I lied. 2 requests. Bam, bam.
Here they come. Oh, when the Saints go marching in. Oh, when the Saints go marching in. Okay. We're going to go. Holy shit.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that. All right.
Oh, my God.
All right, that's it. We'll stop there. Go ahead, Big T. Start naming out people.
Yeah, we're going to go to the Degenerate, Sugar, and then we're going to go to Alex. And those will be the first 3. And then I'll name the next afterwards.
Thank you guys, first of all, for walking.
Holy shit, they're still coming. Sorry.
on the basic staking here, obviously there's like on Stater Labs, there's the Blue Chip Community and Airdrops Plus, and they're all about the same APR. Would it not just make the most sense to go into the Airdrops Plus because you would then get the airdrops?
You get airdrops in all of them. The difference is there are a few validators like Orion Money and a few others. They're supposed to have some like extra airdrops like Talus Protocol, Orion. So those validators specifically have airdrops regarding their protocols. So yeah, if you want sort of like to max out those airdrops, you can certainly do that. It's a slight ever so slight difference in all seriousness. So I tend to do the like community validators instead, because those community validators, keep in mind, like you're funding their ability to hang out and do spaces and shit like all day and night, which then ultimately like pushes up the price of Luna, because like it's just a lot of education that they're providing. So it's sort of worth it to fund those community validators, I promise you.
Okay, and then one more question too, just on the Terra station. I know it says like self delegation and commission. Like, should we be looking at those numbers a lot when we're putting our money into those pools?
Yeah, usually like 5% commission is pretty typical. Even there are some like very, very large validators that do zero commission, but what they're doing is they're trying to get more voting power oftentimes, and you want to distribute the voting power. So like the community validators typically will be like around 5%, which is 5% of the total yield, not like 5% of like, it's, in other words, they're not taking half your yield. It's so you actually promote decentralization of the network if you pick validators that are like, again, community validators with smaller votes and things like that.
Thanks, DJ. Who was next?
Sugar than Alex.
Hey, Lucky, I'm trying to just follow along on my Terra station.
Yep.
And I wanted to see if you could just go back to, I was having a trouble doing the swap to the Luna X.
Yep.
Where you went to the LP. If you could just show that again on the swap where you did the 2 coins into the 1.
Yep. So you have to be you're on Terra swap, right?
Yep.
Yep. So on the first swap there, you'll see the swap. You should have bought both Luna X and Luna. So that was 2 different transactions, right?
Oh, I see. So it's actually a web page. It's not the swap function within the wallet.
It's a web page. It's not a swap function in the wallet.
So he's talking about it's a website, like this, the protocol. It's not.
Oh yeah,
app.terraswap.io.
Yeah, If you went to Terra Station and went to swap, that's not where it's done. It's actually at app.terraswap.io.
Cool. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep, no problem. Who is next?
Alex.
Hey, Steph and Lucky, just a quick question. So if I were to like use the Luna X and like Luna B Luna liquid pools, like how do I get that yield from like that half that's being staked, that's liquid staked?
You mean the Luna X sort of automatically accrues value. The token value itself rises, so you don't really collect anything there.
Okay, is that the same with like B Luna as well?
Yeah, like what? No, B Luna emits its yield as UST. Luna X, the coin price actually rises.
So,
okay.
Just to show you the example, if you go to the Stater Labs, you'll see a value of what Luna X is equivalent to. So 1 Luna X equals 1.020991 right there. So that value would increase over time.
Gotcha. And for like the B Luna situation, is that kind of where you have to go like to anchor and redeem that stuff?
For the B Luna, what he was saying was when you hold B Luna in your wallet, you'll get paid. You'll get paid the yield essentially, right? In your wallet, so you're getting paid that. If you're holding as collateral, you don't get paid it. If you're part of a liquidity provider and you're holding B Luna, and an LP token, you're getting the fees that you're making as being a liquidity provider.
Gotcha. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna go to BG. Then we're gonna go to Mustafa Sayi, and then we're gonna go to Mustiff. Go ahead, BG.
Okay. Thank you for having me. The questions regarding is Luna X. So where does the value of the Luna X comes from? I mean, what does it have any different from that of the Astro? Because I saw it's very, very similar.
We lose his connection.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're asking how does Luna X get its value?
Yes, I mean, where does the value comes from? Because I'm thinking about that. What does it have? First is where does the value come from, and the second is what's the difference from Astro? It seems to me it's quite a little bit like, but I just wanted to make sure that I understand what the value. I mean, the value of the Lunar X comes from.
No, Astro's very different. That's a little bit different concept, but it's very similar to AUST. Have you seen like how Anchor AUST works, where like the yield from Anchor Earn makes your AUST token go up in value? Right. So like if you look at so an Anchor Earn as an example, it opened in last March, right?
Yeah.
At that time, AUST and UST were equal 1-to-1. But if you go now and look at your AUST, it's worth 20% more a year later than it was last year, right? And the reason is because the coin itself is going up in value. So Luna X is very similar. So a year from now, it will be worth like 9 or 10% more than Luna itself would be.
So that 1.2 would be like whatever higher.
Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, it can be much higher, and where does the value come from?
Well, it's the staking yield. What Luna X is a liquid stake token, so it's staked in the background. Stater stakes it for you, then takes any of the yield that comes from that, and the protocol essentially increases the value of the token mathematically.
It's a little bit like ANC, right? ANC. I mean.
Yeah, that's a. Oh, sorry.
It would be closest to like X Prism, AUST. ANC, the token itself, I don't think it has a value accrual in that manner.
No, I think it's only. What he was saying was it's ANC like AUST BG. That's what Steffi was saying.
Yeah, because I don't quite understand about the AUST, because when I tried, I mean, when I tried to, I mean, deposit the UST into the earn of the Anchor, I mean, it seems like I got a AUST, but this kind of AUST.
You did.
Okay.
So if you put $1 of UST into Anchor Earn today, you'll get 0.8 AUST.
Yeah.
Why do you get 0.8? It's because AUST is worth 20% more because Anchor's been open for a year. So the yield has actually accrued in the value of the Anchor token. You follow me? So that's why it's confusing like that. So, so the AUST, like had you bought AUST a year ago for $1, it would now be worth $1.20. That's how in the value of the token itself. So that's a very important DeFi distinction in decentralized finance. You have situations where you have to claim yield, and then you have situations where certain coins just simply accrue value over time. The coin itself goes up in value outside of any speculative price action of the coin. So X Prism on Prism Protocol is very similar. AUST, Luna X. These are essentially kind of liquid staked, what they call liquid staked derivatives, and that's how this works. So you have to understand that about like in general in DeFi, the difference between these two concepts, right? So like in Luna, when you stake it normally on TerraStation, Luna's price just goes up and down the same way Luna normally does. It doesn't grow in value based on the staking yield. You have to claim the staking yield, right? And then you can buy more Luna with it, which means your Luna count goes up. With Luna X, the difference is the number of Luna X you have don't go up as it auto compounds. The value of the token goes up. See the difference?
Yeah.
So it is kind of like, it's confusing in the beginning, and then you realize, oh, okay, I can see the math of how this works eventually.
I'm trying to think of a diagram I can draw for people to explain that, because that'd probably be helpful. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, all these values come from the staking value and the part of the staking value, right? Because the part of the staking.
Mathematically, the protocol is increasing the value of the coin based on how much staking, like cash value, comes out. So eventually, if you unstake your Luna X, you'll get all the value that's accrued over that year, for example. And then how much you'll have is the Luna underlying plus any additional yield that you get on top of that.
I think it's a little bit strange. When you stake your Luna at a stater, right? But what you got is, as understood, 100% of the staking benefit. So it seems to me that when you stake it, you got all of the benefits. But what leaves for the Luna X? Is there any? What's the benefit of the Luna X? It seems like the staking benefits 100% goes to the staker.
Well, I think maybe you're misunderstanding what Seffi's saying. The benefit of Luna X is when you stake on Terra Station, right? You have to claim it, and then you have to kind of do all that work yourself. The benefit of Luna X or Stater Labs is that they're taking that yield that you would have gotten in the background and they're auto compounding it for you. Right. So there's a benefit there. Like, that's why I call Stater Labs like my 401k IRA kind of protocol, because it's automatically just kind of reinvesting my dividends for me. Like, that's how I talk about it.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a big value, because I can go throw in, whatever I want in Stater Labs and come back 5 years from now, and that value, assuming Luna appreciates, guarantee is going to appreciate, because it's automatically reinvesting everything for me. That's how I look at it.
Yes, I understand. But my point is, when the staker, get all the benefits, what does it leave for? What does left for the Luna X? What does left for the product itself?
Are you asking what's...
Yeah, there's a fee. So if you're on regular staking on Stater auto compounding, there's a 3% fee in the background. So 3% of your yield. So if you've made $10 worth of yield, then like 30 cents of it would be going to Stater Labs. On the Luna X token, the fee is much higher. It's 10% of your yield. So that goes to the protocol. Why would you even want Luna X then? Luna X is beneficial because it's a liquid staked Luna, and there's other applications being developed for the use of Luna X. So me personally, I don't leave my money in Luna X right now. Why? Because I'm losing that 10% and I don't want to. I just use regular Stater staking. And, you don't have to pay fees, by the way, every time too. Because like normally, if you and I were to do this manually, every time you claim, right, you have to pay fees. And then every time you convert those claims into Luna, you have to pay fees, and it just goes on and on, right? So this reduces a lot of the fees. It eliminates all the taxes from claiming and whatever. And it just creates a simple strategy. So I like the simple Stater protocol. I don't really mess with the Luna X that much personally. Not right now.
This is hassle for it, but you just mentioned that the 10% of the what yield from where?
10% of the staking yield that you would normally get staking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the entire point of Stater is basically simplifying staking for you. That's the whole point of that protocol.
I got the 10%, and then Luna X got the 10%, and now we will benefit from this 10%.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good question, DG. I think it's a good question.
Thank you
That's
very
a good question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who is next? Mustif and then John?
Yep.
Go ahead, Mustif.
My question is, are you able to do this with Wrapped Luna?
No, you can't do any of these things with Wrapped Luna. All things that we're talking about today, you have to take your Wrapped Luna and convert it to regular Luna and put it on a Terra Station wallet. Wrapped Luna that you buy on like Gemini or Coinbase, things like that, that's Ethereum Wrapped Luna, and you can't participate in any of the DeFi protocols with it. You can convert it though using like Terra Bridge, and you could do it on certain exchanges and such, but no, you can't do it directly.
So I can send my Wrapped Luna to Terra Exchange and convert it to Luna?
You can send your Wrapped Luna to KuCoin, and then out of KuCoin go out to Terra Station wallet.
Okay.
But remember, when you send your Wrapped Luna, because that's probably on the ERC, you have to make sure when you pick your address, you're picking the ERC one. If you use KuCoin, or you can go to a bridge like Seffi's saying that's going to convert that Wrapped Luna to actual Luna for you. But you have to convert it somehow, somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some actually YouTube videos. I don't know where they are, but like there's some discussing methods of taking your Wrapped Luna and getting it to Terra Station in native Terra format.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was concerned about selling it and having to rebuy it because I have a pretty good entry. Okay, thanks.
Yep, no problem. All right, John, go ahead.
John.
First, I got to apologize for being a bit late to this space because I'm pretty sure you guys would have covered this already. But what's the rate that you get when you hold B Luna in your wallet? I haven't been able to find that anywhere. So
the exact same as Luna staking rate, except it's all paid in UST. So that would be around close to 9%. Minus, you don't get any airdrops though.
Oh, okay. Thanks. That was it.
Cool.
No problem.
Was there one person that came up real quick? Big T, do you want to take one more question?
I declined it so we can get moving.
Okay. All right. So I'll just finish this last part up within 10 minutes here because we've been going for a while. I just want to talk to you guys about the Osmo Dex. I know we kind of bring it up a couple times. So if you have a Terra Station wallet, okay, if you have a Terra Station wallet and you wrote down your seed phrases, if you download the Kepler wallet, the Kepler app, and when you go to Kepler, if you go to when you want to create a new wallet, okay, I'm just doing it here. Give me a second. Just want to make sure I have it right. And I did a video on this. When you create it, you can take the same seed phrases that you had from your Terra Station wallet, put it in Kepler, and what it's going to look like is it's going to create it. It'll be successful. So you should get a successful kind of like creation of a wallet. And when you're on Osmo and you click assets, so I'm back on Twitch, just so you guys know. When you click assets, you see the Osmosis assets. If I go to deposit, because I created my Kepler wallet with the same seed phrase as my Terra Station wallet, and because it's all on the Cosmo blockchain, the power of IBC, you can see here that my UST balance from my Terra wallet is right here. And I can port over dollars very easy onto the Osmo Dex, just like this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring over, I'll bring over $5. So I'm going to deposit, and it's probably going to ask me to approve it. You do need Luna wallet in your Terra wallet to be able to do that. But once you have that, your UST, you can go then to trade. And I'm just going to refresh this app.osmosis zone, a little trick I found. Sometimes you just have to refresh the pages to kind of get that wallet to come up. If I type in UST here, you should see your $5. So there's my $5 that I just brought over. And now I can buy Secret, I can buy Osmo, I can buy, Juno. I can buy anything essentially on the Cosmos blockchain through the Osmo Dex. And I won't get into it tonight. Maybe we can do another session, Big T, another night. But, we can talk about the staking of Osmo at 86% right now. I think Cosmo's around 30, I think, Seth, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. We can talk about the liquidity pools. Someone today brought up the Incentive Plus liquidity pools, which is kind of cool. So if I show you guys this real quick, the UST, if you scroll down to the bottom, let me see if it has it still. Give me a second. No, I'm scrolling fast. It's still loading. It tells you guys where there's special incentives. So incentivized pools here. So if I click on like Atom Osmo, it'll tell you there's an incentive of like a certain APR plus an incentive bonus for bonding over a certain number of days. So you're going to see here 14 days bonding is paying a 74% APR plus now 19 on the super fluid staking enabled. But these are things we can go over another night. But essentially, once you're on the Osmo Dex, you can bring over UST. So now kind of rewind this whole night. You have Luna, you put it in, you get to B Luna, you throw it in collateral, you can borrow UST, you can bridge it over to Osmos easily to another DEX, and you can go, ham on buying, Osmo, Cosmo, Juno, Secret. You can go wherever you want at this point. Get in other liquidity pools. I mean, this is kind of the power of IBC and the Cosmos blockchain. You guys can see how easy that is once you have the underlying setup correct.
Yeah.
Anything
So
you
like,
have there?
yeah. So like if you borrow, for example, off your Luna, then you figure like you can make more money elsewhere. Then you can take that UST, like he said, either use it on to buy more Luna. You can uh, go to Osmosis and participate in different things there. All of those things have different styles of risk. They'll have different styles of yield. And ultimately, the concept would be whatever it is that your cost to borrow was, you want to be making more than that in whatever you use that money for, right? Obviously, you don't want to borrow and then lose money and then have to pay back a loan that is now worth like you lost money in the process. So there's different layers of like risk, different types of pools that are way less risky, different things that are a lot more risky, and that's where it gets into a lot of nuance. And but just understanding that you can use your UST and move it to well, you're not really moving it. You can open up your TerraStation wallet essentially on Kepler, like you said, and then you can use that to participate on the Osmosis DEX, which is one of the main sort of incentivized DEXs of the Cosmos ecosystem. It's very similar to what we looked at earlier, TerraSwap and Astroport. The difference is this can cover all of the coins in Cosmos-based ecosystems all over. So that's the magic of the Cosmos in the sense that like you can have many, many, many chains for lots of different applications, but the Osmosis DEX is like the one that ties all of those places together so you can transact in the different coins of those networks.
Yep. I think that's all I have for tonight. I don't know, unless you guys want to go over anything else, but Big T.
Yeah,
Stephanie,
no, I think it was great. I want to go ahead and open up the floor to any questions that anybody has. We're going to limit it to, I think, 19 more minutes.
Yeah, I would say let's cut it at one.
Yeah, we'll cut it there. So if anybody wants to come up and ask questions about anything, but in the interim, I wanted to say happy Interest Day for Voyager. I'm excited about getting on with shit today, so I want to throw that out there. But anybody wants to come up and ask questions, feel free to request the mic. Go ahead, Almighty.
What's up, you guys? Thank you again for hosting this. Okay, so Sefi, I have one question. So it's just, do you think a good strategy just to like arb, like anytime I get the chance to and I'm getting a good like return, I should just do it? Even like at these prices right now, obviously. I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, anytime I see a 2%, sometimes I'll just use some fresh UST and just go ahead and like get some more, because I'm getting like, if you think about it this way, if over and over again, like year after year, you're getting like 1 or 2% free, sort of, and other people who are just playing around on Gemini or on Coinbase or whatever, just simply playing the price action or not getting that, you're sort of automatically getting almost a free like in, as far as like an insider trade essentially that nobody else is getting, right? So you're already getting kind of an edge. So yeah, like if I see sometimes someone tweets out, hey, there's a 3% discount on B Luna, I'm like, whatever, I'll just go ahead and send some UST or borrow off my existing Luna and just go to get some a little bit. I just sort of include that in my dollar cost average.
Okay.
And I'm basically reducing the volatility risk by 3% instantaneously, right? So it's like, so I've done that at all price levels pretty much.
Okay.
At one level or the other. And of course, at this point, like practically all of my buys are in the green except for a little bit, I think 93 or 95 or something, but a tiny amount.
Okay.
So not only am I in the green, but like I got like 3% or 2% extra here and there along the way randomly.
Gotcha.
And not only that, but remember that extra 2 or 3%, you only have to do it like 3 times and it becomes like, close to like, 8 to 9%. And that is also like bonded Luna, right? So you can basically then borrow off that if the price drops, and you can use that as collateral to get more, right? So any amount you get is sort of like the possibility of additional Luna later on if you need it, right? So like you're just building, think about it as you're just building collateral potential. And if price drops low enough, you might use that potential to grab a little bit of extra Luna on the bottoms.
Got you. Yeah, I think the only thing that I'm kind of confused on is obviously the burn. I mean the 21 days, right?
Well, like confused about why it takes 21 or
no, well, I mean, because I mean, obviously he's mentioning about like a lot of moving parts. I'm trying to like wrap my head around, and pretty much if I was to obviously switch to bonded, and I burn it, it's a 21 day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you go from B Luna back to Luna, it's a 21 day, right?
So So where that should concern you most is if for some reason you needed to like sell Luna.
Yeah.
Then like that is a 21 day lockup essentially while you're waiting for it to unlock.
Yeah.
So that would be your primary sort of like quote unquote risk. Now, like, if your goal is just to get more Luna anyway, and your goal wasn't to try to attempt to sell it either way, then it doesn't make any difference, right?
Yeah.
That's why, like, if you take the long view here, like if you take a multi-year view, it's like almost impossible to lose.
Yeah, exactly. I'll keep arbing. I don't care. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I try to tell people, like, don't try to, like, you could try to outtrade the market. There's certainly people that do, but I also see a lot of people that are like, big accounts trading, and I'm like, they made calls that are so horrifically bad, like in the opposite direction, and then I'm like, are people actually following all this? Like, you take a 3-year approach or something like that, and you always win in crypto. Like, but if you start monkeying around, that's when most people lose their money. So
yeah. I mean, I think to his point, it's like if you think about the long run, where you think Luna can go, just these little bit of 2% here, 3% here, not really worrying about what you're picking up right now. At the end of the day, you're gonna win out. Like, exactly what he says. Like, you kind of have to change your mindset.
Imagine the Bitcoin pizza story, right? Remember, like the people that spent 20,000 Bitcoin on Domino's or whatever.
Yeah.
So imagine that now, but imagine that you are making an extra Luna here and there, and one day when Luna is $10,000, every single little decimal point of Luna, you're gonna be like, "What the hell did I do? Like, why didn't I pay attention to that extra little percentage? Why didn't I get that one Luna here and there?" Right? So like what seems like nothing now in an ecosystem that can really grow and explode, like 5 years from now, it's a very different picture, right?
Yeah.
But this is also why, like, these discussions about future price, like what can Luna's price do? How long could that take? Like, what are we going to look like in, let's say, 5 or 7 years? Like, right? These kinds of discussions are because, like, many of us are planning these little 1%, 2% moves for that kind of pricing, at which point, like, these little just, like, subtle variations matter a lot, right?
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, I literally, I don't want to feel bad, but I just arb my Luna, my B Luna right now, and I'm getting back like 14 of them. So I'm like, I'm fine with just keep doing that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. And think of it this way: all you're really doing is you're reducing your volatility risk. So, for example, in a year, if you make 20% more Luna, and the price of Luna is 20% lower than it is now, you're essentially breaking even already.
Yeah,
right. So you're reducing volatility risk anytime you make yield.
And that's not breaking even, though. Hey, sorry to interrupt. When every time you reduce volatility, then you really got to see that as a win, right? And if you
for sure.
If you like compound 1% a day, like you're gonna hit it stays flat for a very long time, and then it fucking verticals so hard. Right. And that what the arbs that we're talking about, like you guys are talking about right now between B Luna and Luna, like we are freely fucking given this shit. It's just up to us to realize, like, we know that that $1,000 Luna is programmed like as a meme, but it's not. So like copying that 1% compound right now, guys, is the best fucking thing you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
This is why like our goal is generally to lose. My goal is always to lose like 0 Luna, and I'm not even that interested in paying off my Anchor borrows because my cost to borrow is
Hashtag sorry, Anchor, never paying you back.
yeah. The my cost to borrow is so nominal that if the valuation of Luna like 10x's from here, which I think it quite very well will, it's a certainty, then that cost to borrow is so nominal to nothing that it doesn't even make sense to pay it back, which is why I don't personally.
And then you can even be speculative, like I am, and if anybody knows me in this space, like I'm loving the NFTs because, like, generally I came from the Wax blockchain, where like the utility of NFTs on the Wax blockchain blows Luna away. We're like a baby giraffe trying to walk in the NFT space right now, which is fantastic. Because there's a lot of value coming in from like ETH. So we just fucking flipped like so many big boy coins, guys. Hey, like the attention is coming towards us. And now we really need to like I said, be happy with that 1% compound, because when fucking like all this liquidity flows into our blockchain, we're going to be looking like degen geniuses, and holding on to shit like a Hellcat or a Galactic Punk, these things will become far more valuable because of token economics. That the Luna will be worth more. It'll still be worth 40 fucking Luna, but Luna's worth a shit ton more.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Okay, so I guess my last question. So I think pretty much a good strategy from what I'm hearing from your strategy is if we see a dip, we should borrow at a dip with Anchor. Right?
It's one option. That's what I do.
I'm going to do that. I'll definitely do that.
I mean, I've been doing that for like a year now, just about.
I wish I knew. Shit.
So the number of times I have like looped and arbed, I've probably like, I don't know, I've probably got like double the amount of Luna that I did when I started, and I've lost none, and I've traded nothing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, let's see that. Okay, that's good to know then.
Yeah, cool, thanks. What I'm saying is it adds up over time. Yeah, you just have
absolutely.
Patience.
No, definitely.
We're gonna go.
Thanks, Almighty.
Yeah,
we're gonna go to ZT, and then I think we're gonna close it out afterwards.
Yeah, I just raised my hand, guys. Just say hello to you, Big T and Lucky and all of you. I wish you all guys doing great. I've been a couple of days joining, just checking on you guys, and wish you best luck and love. And be safe to all. That's all, guys. You can take me down if you want. But yeah, say hello to you guys, and I hope you're doing all good. Just love, love being here and hear what you're talking about. I really enjoy it. So yeah, love to all.
Thanks, CT.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, nice to see you doing good. I hope you have a good day.
V, did you have any other question?
No, man. Like I was just finish up. I just want to say, like, this is actually one of the most non-toxic communities that, like, there is so much love and like information. Not just like, hey, do this. This is why you should do this. And that the Terra community is so fucking attractive to so many toxic communities, that like Ethereum. So like seriously, guys, like fucking, we're early. Hold your line, and we're all gonna make it.
That's there's a lot of time for it to become a lot more toxic, which usually is what happens when it gets bigger. So enjoy the
deflationary case for Ethereum right now is just as good as ours. It's just not publicized, right? Like that them moving from proof to proof of work to proof of stake, it's gonna hit a vertical, like it will. And fuck, what have we got? That what protocol have we got where we can fucking collateralize that shit? You know, like sort of read between the lines, like fucking. All right, I'm pretty sure that TFL knew exactly what they were doing when they let BETH come a thing. But that's just my opinion.
No, you're correct. Like bringing liquidity into cross-chain environments is a big goal. Yes.
And if you look at the statistics, there's more like decentralized finance money locked up in Ethereum than anything. So it just makes sense to fucking onboard that shit, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's the goal.
and they are like, even the maxis of Ethereum are very different to the maxis of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is just a store of worth, of wealth, right? Ethereum unlocks that fucking liquidity. And what do? We're not trying to take it on. We're trying to help. Let's fucking roll, babies, you know?
Yep, thanks, V. All right, we're going to close it out with Ant and Always Right. So go ahead, Ant, and then we'll go to Always Right.
Easy. Be good, and if you can't, be good at it. Love you all.
Thanks, V.
Thank you, brother.
Hey guys, first let me just say thank you so much. This is very, very informative. My question is actually for Sefi regarding the whole Luna X. I'm just kind of thinking through the logic around not using Luna X versus, say, doing the liquidity pool, because it looks like the APR on that is roughly 28%, right? But even with the fees, because again, the split here is 50% that would go towards your Luna versus 50% that would be Luna X. So if you do the math there, you're still going to make out, assuming the staking is what, 8 or 9%. So that's 50% of whatever you stake on the Luna X side. You'll get that return. So you're looking at roughly, assuming it's like 9%. So you're going to make roughly 4% on your Luna X plus the 28% APR. If you do the liquidity pool. So again, just kind of doing the math versus the burn kind of feels like actually doing the liquidity pool with Luna X, you actually make more on that side. Plus, you also have the additive benefit of just whenever you want to take it out, you can always do that, right? So
yeah, the distinction there, yeah, you're right. Like there are quite a few opportunities with Luna where you can do like LPs, like Luna bonded Luna pools and like Luna X pools. So yeah, for sure you can do that. And it's a fairly simple, like tax efficient, no muss, no fuss sort of investment. No question about it. Where you'd want to do the Luna bonded Luna mess, by the way, is especially if you intend to ever borrow off of your bonded Luna on Anchor, right? Because when you're going between bonded Luna and otherwise, you can use bonded Luna as collateral when you need it to manage the LTV, like we talked about at the very beginning. Whereas if you're stuck in an LP or some other situation, that may not be the case. So I think what you have to ask yourself first and foremost is, do I intend to ever borrow off my Luna? And if so, how quickly do I need to be able to do so? So these are all the kind of like tactics you have to think about when you decide like what kind of like investor you're going to be with your Luna.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Got it. Makes sense.
And this is why I have stuff everywhere. So then I just forget about shit and it just continues to earn money somewhere because I just don't touch it then, Sefi. This is why I just put a little bit everywhere.
Yeah, which is not a bad idea either. Because like really the buy and hold folks do really well over the long term either way. So it's not like if you're trying to really optimize and eke out every little bit of energy out of your time, that's the thing. But generally, like, yeah, you have to think of DeFi or any finance as there's like a function of time. There is a function of like different components in DeFi having different styles of utility, different sort of opportunity costs, different types of risks. And like, and then like, there's certain strategies that could possibly net you the maximum gain, right? Like for example, when Luna was at $45, if I had like, mega looped my Luna in bonded Luna and borrowed the heck out of it, and I got the max amount of Luna I possibly could, right? Like I went completely crazy. And now Luna's practically doubled from there. So obviously, if I called that perfectly and did everything exactly, I could have made the max gain, right? In other words, buy low, sell high. But the problem is, like, nobody knows exactly how low, and you don't want to get liquidated. So you never are going to optimize that absolutely perfectly, right? You're going to take certain risks, certain amount of like possible extra UST or B Luna I need to have to say manage LTV and whatnot, right? So all of these different tactics really depend on your appetite for like risk and how aggressive you want to be with it. And as everybody knows, like people that take on way too much leverage, there's plenty of horror stories of complete mayhem happening.
I would probably agree. Thanks, Ant. All right, we have two more. We're going to close it out. Always right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about UST adoption over the next year. I know obviously there's all the dApps and protocols and things like Outlet and Alice, which obviously should start some type of mass adoption of UST. But have you guys heard about the rumors of Vitalik upgrading ETH to the Cosmos SDK? And with that, obviously, in my opinion, UST is going to be the stable coin for the Cosmos ecosystem. Now, if ETH upgrades to the Cosmos SDK, would that make UST the stable coin for ETH? And could you imagine what kind of adoption that would turn into?
If there's anything related to Vitalik and Cosmos, I haven't heard it. My understanding with ETH 2.0 is they're basically looking at like sharding to expand ETH as its own thing. Now, UST is already substantially used on ETH, but of course they have USDT, USDC. Each of these has different sort of like purposes, so to speak. So I think there's room for all of them, but I'm not aware of anything suggesting that ETH is moving to Cosmos as like a Cosmos chain. Is there news on that? That'd be weird.
If you guys know Altcoin Psycho on Twitter, he posted a tweet about it today about Vitalik talking about the Cosmos SDK and IBC, and he's been actually making some posts about that in the last few weeks. So there is thoughts going around that Vitalik's looking to possibly get the devs involved in upgrading to the Cosmos SDK.
And either that, or there may be sort of like a part of Ethereum that might run on it, or maybe like they're planning on more like IBC integration to connect to Cosmos. So they have such a huge amount of development already done on like thinking about ETH 2.0. I'll investigate whatever you're talking about and see what they're saying to like see what their strategy is.
And then also, obviously we're looking at a possible Tether ban, which, who knows how soon that could happen. I don't know what the market cap of Tether is right now, but I'm assuming, do you guys expect, the exchanges, do you expect kind of mass UST pairs to replace Tether?
First off, I don't think Tether is going to be like banned. It's unlikely because I just don't think it's going to happen. But secondly, even if there was some sort of like systemic reduction in its usage, the amount of Tether used on US exchanges is relatively small because Coinbase mostly supports USDC, Voyager's USDC. A lot of exchanges have Tether, but they're not like heavy trading pairing in Tether versus like Binance and a lot of other international exchanges. So the international exchanges don't really care about US regulations. They don't like have any problem with using Tether. So I think there'll be people that will continue to, or exchanges that continue to use that. UST is going to have, I think, a lot of adoption just because lots of different reasons why we'd want less Tether in USDC. So I don't think we're going to have any lack of adoption because of, or it almost doesn't matter what USDC or Tether does. There are reasons to have a decentralized stablecoin irrespective of those two things. And there's a huge potential global market in the multi-trillions of dollars for just stablecoins themselves. So we have a long way to go, and I wouldn't even worry about the other two, honestly. they're going to be almost meaningless, in my opinion, for as far as we're concerned.
And then just one final question. Alice finally posted on Twitter today, inviting another 1,000 people to do their beta testing. And looking at that tweet, they have a kind of a FAQ on there. And one of the FAQs basically states that it's, from the looks of it, there's going to be no KYC, and all they need is your phone number. Now, to have an on-ramp, off-ramp with your bank, wouldn't it be required to have some point of KYC, or can they do this with just using a phone number?
I don't know if they have just the phone number. We'd have to see, but it might, because for Plaid to connect to your bank, it's going to require obviously enough data to actually prove you are who you say you are, right? So like, I don't know how that works, but I guess they sort of KYC you, right? Because you're already going from your actual bank, right? So you're sort of KYC'd right there, because the bank in the background is like Prime Trust probably, and they're connecting to your bank, so it's like bank to bank. They already know who you are at that point, is the way to look at it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks always. All right, last person, and then we'll shut down and we'll do closing thoughts. Tanmay.
Hey, thank you for this space. I'm an artist, so I'm very new to staking and the Luna Anchor protocol. If you have time, could you just explain me the fundamentals? I have one particular question about staking, like we do in stock market or in crypto. Suppose we give money to banks and banks lend it forward, and with that interest, they pay us back. So where is the second part of this? Where does the staked money go forward to? Who takes out the loan? And how would you suggest to get into this as a beginner?
You're thinking of something completely different. Staking has really nothing to do with lending your money to somebody. The revenue from staking comes either from inflationary rewards, meaning that literally like tokens are printed. This would be like, for example, the Atom token, or you have a token that there's revenue, meaning transactional fees on the network that are paid out to the stakers, which is a slightly different thing. So that's where that DeFi yield is coming from. It's not being lent out. So this is like staking is a very specific process to decentralized finance, and what they call proof of stake blockchains has nothing to do with lending to a bank or anything like that.
And then I would say for your other question, I would probably start. So Tanmay, Big T up here, myself and Sefi are probably on Spaces quite a bit. So I would start looking at some maybe the YouTube videos. I have a channel you can follow through my profile that shows you how to get UST, either through KuCoin onto a TerraStation wallet, and then talks about how to buy Luna. So maybe start there with some of the videos. There's a bunch of people in this space, like Hutch down there. TerraSpaces.org has a bunch of recorded spaces that you can go back and listen to get a lot of those questions answered around like what is Luna and how it all operates. Definitely follow TerraSpaces.org.
Yeah, I wanted to second that, and that goes for anybody that's in here. Like, you want some really good content that is it just keeps coming and never stops. Yeah, definitely go to TerraSpaces.org. There's nothing better, in my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you. One last question. This news I had got about Sphere, SPHERE, that's based on Polygon. Is it same? Do you have any idea about it? What are your comments on that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I didn't hear the question.
Sphere on Polygon. I have no idea.
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, that they claim to become the S&P 500 of DeFi. Yeah, so maybe it's something new. I'll just tweet about it and share it with you.
Yep. Let us know if you find something out. That'd be great.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for your space and time.
Yeah, thank you.
Sefi, any closing comments? Can you hear him, Big T, or no?
No, he's not speaking. So,
Sefi, can you hear us?
He's probably lost in the blockchain.
Perfect timing. Bloomer, any closing comments?
Yeah, we put Bloomer to sleep.
All right. Great. I guess that's what we're good for.
Go team.
I guess I'll go. I just want to say thanks for everyone hanging around tonight and watching this. Obviously, Big T recorded this space, and then the Twitch is recorded. I'm sure we'll do another session like this again. It sounds like it was helpful for people to see it live and to understand what we're actually talking about every day, day in and day out. So feel free to give us any feedback through DMs or tweets on maybe what you'd want to see next or how we could better help. I think that's what's important around the community is us helping each other, and then what you guys can bring back to the table. So
yeah, an awesome job with this, Lucky. I mean, you did a great job. It was very thorough, and I learned a lot, and I know a lot of people did. Just so you guys know, we do host spaces every single day. So we do one in the morning and one at night. Generally, the one in the morning is dedicated to onboarding newbies into the ecosystem. Obviously depending on whether they're CFI or DeFi. And then usually at nighttime we do more DeFi degen stuff, kind of like what we did here tonight. So if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you follow Lucky, make sure you follow me and all the speakers that were here tonight. But I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, Seffi's coming back.
Yeah, I hope everybody took a value from this conversation. I'm going to bring Seffi up and see if he has anything to say.
Sorry, guys. I just sort of ran out of batteries for a minute, so I had to go plug in my phone. But yeah, everyone have a good night.
I'm glad you came back for that, Seffi.
That was good. Yeah, I thought you'd just throw up the traditional peace sign.
All right, see you guys. Have a great night.
All right, yeah. Take care, y'all.